What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a Detroit Lions live stream. The Detroit Lions are set to kick off in just about 15 minutes. And since I kind of had the night off, don't really have anything going on, I figured we'd sit down, watch the Detroit Lions together, talk about everything live, break down a couple players live, and of course, just go over and watch the game in the Detroit Lions' final game of the preseason, the last chance to evaluate a lot of their depth, as well as the last chance to see some of these players make plays for the Detroit Lions. Now, I was looking to see if there was anything that had come out in regards to who was starting tonight, who was dressing tonight, who was playing tonight, and so far haven't really found a whole lot going on. The Detroit Lions usually send stuff out or usually have stuff leak right around, 10, 15 minutes before the game. So I haven't quite found anything just yet on the Detroit Lions starters, who's playing, who's dressed, and who's not. But I would assume, based off of the previous games, based off of the quotes from press conferences, based off of practices, and of course, like I said, what they've done the other two games of the NFL preseason, I wouldn't expect very many people, very many starters to actually be playing in this game. Jared Goff likely will not play. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs likely will not play. The top four wide receivers, that being Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, who's out with an injury, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, and even Marvin Jones. So the top five wide receivers are likely out, leaving a big opportunity for Chase Cota and Dylan Drummond, and of course, Antoine Green and the rest of the depth wide receivers. And I think we're going to see a lot of the depth players. I doubt we're going to see anybody like Jahmyr Gibbs. I doubt we're going to see Brian Branch. We might see Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell might play. However, I think it is a little bit unlikely as he's played very well the last two preseason games, and they're probably going to give a little bit more to other people, a little bit more time to other linebackers that aren't quite so secure on the team. My boy David Barnett is in the stream, says Hutch and Houston are on pace to get 30-plus sacks a year in the last 7 games. What is the likelihood of them keeping that up? 30-plus sacks, that is a lot of sacks, but I don't think it's impossible. Right, James Houston has looked phenomenal in the preseason, as he should. He's playing against second and third string offensive tackles. But from the stats that I've seen, he has 13 pressures throughout 2 games. Doesn't have a sack, or maybe I think got 1 sack last week versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hasn't really had the elite production like he had last year, but he's also rushing alongside guys that probably aren't going to make the roster, guys that are at the bottom of the barrel. They don't have an Aiden Hutchinson on the other side, pressing the quarterback, right? They don't have other pass rushers blowing up the middle to help James Houston out as much. So it kind of goes back and forth. Yeah, he's playing lesser talent, but he's also playing with lesser talent around him. He's kind of the guy that they can slide double teams to. He's kind of the guy they can slide the quarterback away from, slide protection towards, and that is leading to a lot of, the lack of statistical success, despite the fact that James Houston still has 13 pressures in 2 games, as well as a sack from last weekend. So James Houston, phenomenal player. I wouldn't be surprised if James Houston plays 50% of the snaps this year for the Lions defense, 50% of the snaps, and walks away with 12 sacks. He is that good of a player. He will not play the entire game. I think Kaminsky's going to play more than him. I think Pascal's going to split some time with him. I think that Charles Harris is going to play a lot this season if he's healthy. So there's going to be a lot of times where James Houston isn't on the field, which could potentially bring down his numbers a little bit, taken away from that 30 sacks combined. But I do think that Aiden Hutchinson will be in the realm of 15 to 18 even. And I do think that James Houston, depending on how much he plays, could get to that 10 to 12 sack range. I think that John Kaminsky is going to have 4 or 5. I think that Josh Pascal is going to have a couple. I think that as he's healthy, Charles Harris is going to have 5 or 6. I think that there's going to be a lot of pass rushers on this team getting a lot of time. And of course, if Levi Onwuzurike and Aleem McNeil are as healthy and in shape as a lot of people are saying that they are, I think there's a good chance that those two get some sack production as well. Now, the Carolina Panthers have quite a few interesting rookies to be seeing tonight. I believe we are going to see Bryce Young, the first overall pick. We're going to see Jonathan Mingo, a player that I really liked in the draft that ended up going to Carolina, as well as the rest of their draft class. But the Carolina Panthers are facing a few injuries. Likely these players will not play tonight, as most of them are starters. Miles Sanders is probably out tonight, I would guess. Same thing with Laviska Shenault, Dante Jackson, Eddie Pinheiro, as well as DJ Chark. DJ Chark going from the Detroit Lions to the Carolina Panthers this offseason. Likely isn't going to play tonight from what it sounds like. It sounds like it could be a little bit of a bigger injury than what we've heard about so far. So I don't quite have a ton of information on that, but I hope that DJ Chark is able to get better. And I do hope that DJ Chark makes a full recovery. It is 92 degrees in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. Carolina Panthers are 4.5-point favorites actually in this game. And I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens. The Detroit Lions offense has been pretty poor throughout the preseason so far, as you can see from right here, right? 28 points for, 41 points against. They were able to beat the New York Giants in week 1, but had a very, very big loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars in week 2. Just not a good offense so far, right? But I think that could change. Teddy Bridgewater has another week under his belt. He's going to be a little bit more comfortable with his wide receivers, right? You have guys that hopefully Nate Sudfeld gets a little bit more time. Maybe Nate Sudfeld gets 0 time, and Adrian Martinez comes in, who I think has been the best quarterback of the preseason so far for the Detroit Lions. Adrian Martinez is officially rated as the 3rd quarterback on the roster at the moment, but you never know what the 3rd preseason game has in store. You might see Teddy Bridgewater get a series or even a half, a quarter, whatever it may be. You may see Nate Sudfeld get a quarter, and then maybe they gave Adrian Martinez a little extra time this week because he didn't get any last week. I think that Adrian Martinez deserves more reps than Nate Sudfeld. I think we know Nate Sudfeld is not the guy. He's not going to be QB2. He's certainly not going to be quarterback 1. And I think he's been outperformed by the UDFA from Kansas State. I think that Adrian Martinez has played very well in the limited time he's gotten this preseason, has led one of the only touchdown drives from the offense this preseason. And I really, really want to see him play more because he looked poised. He showed the athletic ability to scramble, showed the ability to escape pressure, showed the ability to make some tough throws. And I think he could really be an asset to this Detroit Lions team, whether it be wildcat packages, whether it be, just a scout team quarterback. But I do think in a pinch, if you had to bring somebody in, I would feel more comfortable with Adrian Martinez than I would with Nate Sudfeld. Houston got more sacks than Hutch got in the last 7 games. That is true. That is very, very true. Hutchinson is a better all-around player, right? Aiden Hutchinson, bigger, stronger, not necessarily faster, but I do think Aiden Hutchinson is a better run defender. He's better at setting the edge. He's better at kind of getting, it's a interior pressure. I think that, kicking him inside is not really something you can do with James Houston, where it is something you could do with Aiden Hutchinson. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a package this year where Aiden Hutchinson kicks to the inside and you have James Houston on the outside of him. So they're both rushing from the same side, which would be absolutely really, really fun to watch. There's a lot of packages you can do with them. James Houston was incredibly productive last year. I don't expect him to be that productive this year, right? I'm not expecting a sack and a half a game. I'm not expecting, right, 10 sacks or 8 sacks on 100 pass rush snaps or whatever it is. But I do think James Houston will get a fair amount of playing time. They seem to be trying to use him a little bit more versatile this year, right? He played some off-ball Sam linebacker last week against Jacksonville. I think that's always an option as well, considering that the Lions like to shift around and like to use their versatile linebackers. I'm going to be very interested to see when the regular season rolls around what their role is for James Houston, because last year it was a pass rusher. This preseason it started as a pass rusher, and then later in the preseason it became more of an off-ball linebacker trying to build up that versatility. And I don't know necessarily where James Houston is with his versatility, right? I don't know where is that better? Yep, and just on cue, the microphone cuts out. I don't know why it's doing that. It should not be doing that. However, if it does that a few times, I do apologize. There's not a whole lot I can do to prevent that. It happens every time I record. It is very, very frustrating. However, it is what it is. Agree, Aiden Hutchinson is an all-around better player. He is, but I do think that James Houston is a potentially more versatile player, right? I think you can play James Houston on ball, off ball, in coverage, in pass rush. I even think he showed some good reps at stopping the run in the preseason so far. So I think that James Houston's working on being that well-rounded player. I think that he's working on becoming, that well-rounded player more so than that pass rush specialist. But as of right now, while he develops, he's staying as that 6th round pick, right? He was very good at one thing last year, played in that role and did that one thing very, very well. But I think a big emphasis of this year was, hey, you were great last year. Now we're going into year 2. We need you to be better at coverage. We need you to be better at run defense. We need you to be better at this, that, and the other. And I think that's where he's really had a lot of focus tonight, or in the preseason, and hopefully again tonight. Now, the Detroit Lions throughout the preseason so far have averaged 172 passing yards a game, which isn't very good, but is better than the Carolina Panthers, as well as 66 rushing yards a game, which again is not very good. Defensively, I thought they've actually played pretty well. They were great against New York, and they were very good for 3.5 quarters versus Jacksonville, about 210 passing yards and 113 rushing yards per game, which doesn't sound great, but considering that the defense has had a lot of pressure on them so far this preseason, I don't think it's anything too crazy. I do think the Detroit Lions should be able to beat the Carolina Panthers. Not that the score necessarily matters, but it is always fun to see our Detroit Lions win a game or two. The Detroit Lions, of course, 1-1 in the preseason, 28 points for, 41 points against, while the Carolina Panthers are 0-2, scoring just 19 points, all 19 of those coming from last week's preseason game and allowing 48. They've allowed more points. They've scored less points. I don't think they're as deep as the Detroit Lions. I don't think they're a very deep football team at all. And quite honestly, I think the Detroit Lions should have a fairly easy win, but it's the preseason. Some guys show up and some guys don't, and it's going to be a very interesting story to see where that goes. I'm trying to see if we can find any player statistics, because I know we can click on Nate Sudfeld, but I don't necessarily want to see Nate Sudfeld's 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions in 2 games. It's not really what I'm looking for. More an overall Carolina Panthers, Detroit Lions breakdown. So let's see the Detroit Lions right now. We'll go up to statistics and we'll take a look at it. This is from last year. This does not help. That really doesn't do me too many favors. We can talk about what we do know. I don't know as much about the Carolina Panthers as I haven't watched the Carolina Panthers games yet, but we do know a little bit. We do know that apparently Benny Snell is the leading rusher for the Detroit Lions. We do know that Nate Sudfeld, after playing in just about 2 games, is roughly the leading passer for the Detroit Lions, which isn't necessarily a good thing, but it is a correct thing to say. Chase Cota having a very good preseason so far for the Detroit Lions, had I think 5 catches for 60 yards in the first game versus the New York Giants, and then last week, of course, had 1 catch for 9 yards, but did get the sole and lone touchdown of that game, as well as the only receiving touchdown of the preseason so far. So a very good receiving session, a really good receiving preseason from Chase Cota so far. Amon-Ra St. Brown's injury, it says he's questionable right here, got hurt a couple days ago. From what I've been hearing, it doesn't sound like there's anything too bad or anything too major. Obviously was never going to play tonight alongside the other starters, but should be ready to go by week 1 versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I want to see, we've had a couple minutes, right? We've had some time to let everybody figure it out. Teddy Bridgewater is switching his number from 50 to 17. That is something that is happening tonight, which is interesting to know, the normal number. But I'm trying to see, Trey Lance was traded tonight. It doesn't say exactly what pick it was for. However, we do know he is now a member of the Dallas Cowboys. The former 3rd overall pick of the San Francisco 49ers is on the move, going to America's team, going to the Dallas Cowboys. And I'll be interested to see what the Cowboys gave up for him. Because obviously Trey Lance, if you guys were around for a while, you'll know I wasn't very high on Trey Lance in 2020. I had him as the 4th quarterback in the class. I had him right, actually, just funnily enough, where I had Will Levis ranked this year, right around that 20 to 25 spot in the class. I thought he was talented. I thought he had a good quarterback build, but only playing 1 good season at not a Power 5 school, not even an FCS school or FBS school, really concerned me. Obviously, Trey Lance hasn't worked out in the Bay, but going to Dallas, new offensive coordinator, new offensive system, new weapons, new culture, everything could be a little bit different for Trey Lance. I don't see him uprooting and taking away any snaps from Dak Prescott anytime soon, but if Dak Prescott does get hurt or gets expensive or they have more contract issues, there's always a chance that Trey Lance could get another shot in the NFL. Maybe something like a Geno Smith situation. He's still very young, was drafted at just 21. I wasn't very high on Trey Lance coming out. I thought he needed a lot of work. Turns out I was right, but obviously there is a lot of future left for Trey Lance, and I think he's still a very talented quarterback, just has a lot to learn. David says the O-line depth is awful. We can't judge any backfield behind them. We can absolutely judge a backfield. I just don't think we should necessarily judge everything that they do, right? If there's a big tackle for loss because you got tackled by 3 people, that is pretty bad, and you shouldn't blame that on the running back. But if the running back does break off a big play, you can still judge that because that's something good that happened. The offensive line, actually, I thought played better last week than they did against New York. There were some good players. Colby Sorsdale actually looked pretty solid. Connor Galvin looked pretty okay. Jermaine Ifedi was pretty solid on the edge. And just overall, wasn't a bad showing at all. For the most part, was just kind of the interior of the offensive line after Colby Sorsdale left was really, really poor. And obviously just not what we wanted to see. Hopefully this Detroit Lions game can find its way onto the screen. I know it's only 8:02. Maybe the broadcast is just a little bit behind, but hopefully we can find a way to actually watch the Detroit Lions game as opposed to just watching the box score. I don't believe we've kicked off quite yet, but we shall see. He keeps showing pictures of the Carolina Panther Stadium, so hopefully we get brought into Carolina very, very soon. Just continuing to scroll down, Trey Lance trade, obviously. A lot of Bears fans thinking that they're going to land Chris Jones from the San Francisco 49ers. That would be a big, big get for them. That would be really good for the Detroit Lions in week 1. Not so good for the Detroit Lions in the 2 weeks that they end up playing Chicago, but would be very, very solid for at least the first week, which, would always be fun for us. Let's see. I want to get to some football. I'm excited. I've been waiting all day for the Detroit Lions to start playing, and I need some Detroit Lions football in my life. So let's see what else is happening. There's not a whole lot going on. Hello, game day. There's no real information about who's playing, who's starting, who's dressing. Like I said, I would imagine if you haven't played yet in the preseason, they're not going to play today. I would probably take out Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, maybe Jack Campbell, although that one I'm less positive on than the others. I would watch out, especially for our draft class. If he's in there, Jack Campbell. If he's not in there, Broderick Martin's always a big player to watch. The DBs, Stephen Gilmore, as well as Starling Thomas V, 2 very good cornerbacks that have been playing very good in the preseason, as has Brandon Joseph, who I think could end up making the roster with the Ifeatu Melifonwu injury. Very big thing to watch there as well. I don't think Ifeatu is starting or playing tonight, so that is something to keep an eye on. And still no real information about starters or anything like that. So we're just going to have to go off on the fly, figure it out as we go, and of course talk about every player that touches the ball when they end up touching said football. The Detroit Lions are 4.5-point underdogs in this game. Not that the scoreline necessarily matters in the preseason. I just think it's weird that the Detroit Lions, this team that's been getting all this hype in the preseason, all this hype in the offseason, is somehow the underdog in this game, despite showing that they're significantly deeper in talent and significantly deeper with depth. Bryce Young is warming up right now in pads and a helmet. I would expect to see him on at least the opening series, if not even a full quarter or potentially even a full half, meaning we're going to see the Lions backup defense likely play against the Carolina Panthers starting offense for themselves. Frank Reich is talking to his coaching staff. We are couple minutes to kick off. I'm very, very excited to see the Detroit Lions play some football tonight. All right. And here we go. We are getting ready for kickoff. They're showing Dan Campbell with the stats of 1-6 to start last year, and of course 8-2 to end the season. It looks like, I believe, the Detroit Lions are going to kick into the end zone. They're going to kick off first, meaning they will receive at the half, and they are going to start on the defensive side of the ball, starting against Bryce Young, and we are going to get a good chance to see that. Jack Fox, of course, phenomenal kicker, phenomenal punter for the Detroit Lions, great kickoff specialist, top in the NFL. We love Jack Fox for that. I forgot Andy Dalton was on the Panthers, so we're probably going to see Andy Dalton a little bit tonight after Bryce Young has finished his rounds. But I'm very excited to see what happens. We haven't quite got to kick off on the live broadcast, so I don't have a whole lot to talk about. But there you go. Jonathan Mingo, 1 reception, 14 yards. The ESPN is a little bit ahead of the actual broadcast. I haven't even officially seen the kickoff yet. It's still happening on my screen right now. So we are going to kind of go back and forth between whatever this live game is going to be, as well as what shows up on here. The Detroit Lions are ready to kick off, but we obviously know what happens on the first play of the game. Jonathan Mingo was a player that I really liked coming out of Ole Miss. I know he didn't have a ton of consistent production. He wasn't a guy that even everybody was very high on. I thought he would go in the second round. I thought he was going to be a very good NFL wide receiver, has that size at about 6'1", 210, I believe, if I am remembering correctly. He has good prototypical size. He's coming out of Ole Miss. Reminds me a lot of A.J. Brown, a violent after-the-catch runner, some strong hands over the middle. Reminds me a lot of A.J. Brown, formerly of Ole Miss, as well as currently of the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought he was a very good pick for the Carolina Panthers when they made it. I thought he was going to go in the second round. A lot of people told me he was going to go in the fourth. Turns out he ended up going in the second round to the Carolina Panthers. It looks as though Jack Campbell is not starting tonight, although Tracy Walker is on the field. I saw Levi Onwuzurike as the starting defensive tackle, as well as Brandon Joseph as the starting safety, with Ifeatu Melifonwu not on the field. Looks like Khalil Dorsey is starting at the bottom and gave up the catch to Jonathan Mingo for 14 yards, but did make the tackle. Will Harris is in the game, and I stand corrected. Jack Campbell is officially in the game as well. The only first-round pick for the Detroit Lions to likely be playing tonight. We haven't seen the offense yet, but I'm pretty confident in saying that Jahmyr Gibbs will not be playing tonight. Not a great start for the Lions defense. They're going to play a lot of man coverage tonight. They're going to test the cornerbacks. It looks as though looks as though Starling Thomas as well as Khalil Dorsey will start on the boundaries for the cornerback position, with Tracy Walker and Brandon Joseph at the safety position, Malcolm Rodriguez and Jack Campbell at linebacker. Romeo Okwara is one of the starting edge rushers as Starling Thomas makes a strong tackle before his helmet comes off. Romeo Okwara is the starting edge rusher as Levi Onwuzurike is the starting interior defensive lineman. I didn't see who the other edge rusher was, but I would guess based on the other games, it's either Julian Okwara or James Houston. As we are at 2nd and 7 for the Detroit Lions on the live broadcast, trying not too hard to look at the ESPN one right now. But we are at 2nd and 7. Big pickup from Jonathan Mingo on first down, and then a minimal gain for Adam Thielen. James Houston is currently in along with Christian Covington on the defensive line. Malcolm Rodriguez and Jack Campbell still in at linebacker. It looks like they're going to get probably a lot of work tonight. As a rollout, James Houston again with a pressure. However, Bryce Young is able to avoid it. And Jack Campbell and James Houston chase him down for about a 5-yard gain. I believe that brings up 3rd and 2. Another pressure by James Houston, but he's got to finish the play. All right, Bryce Young is very slippery. Got that Aaron Rodgers to him. That's what I wrote down in my draft report, and that is what just showed up on the field. He's very slippery. Yeah, he's small. Yeah, he might not be able to take every hit in the NFL, but he's going to avoid quite a few hits with just his ability to kind of sneak past people. He's small. He's shifty. He's very quick and kind of has that Aaron Rodgers escapability to him, and he just showed that right there. 3rd and 2 for the Detroit Lions. You have James Houston and Romeo Okwara rushing the passer. James Houston is doubled and still got around. Romeo Okwara pressured him, but Young is able to escape and pick up the first down with his legs. Not an ideal start for the containment. Obviously, you want Bryce Young to stay in the pocket a little bit, but is a good sign that the Detroit Lions are getting pressure. That time, Romeo Okwara beat his guy while James Houston was being double-teamed. But again, got to finish the play. Got to tackle Bryce Young in the backfield. Can't allow him to escape and pick up that first down. He's now done that to both of our edge rushers and picked up a first down on the play. 1st and 10 for the Carolina Panthers as James Houston stays out there. Seems like James Houston's going to get a lot of work tonight, and maybe Julian Okwara won't because there is some interest on the trade block as Jack Campbell makes that tackle over the middle. It's possible that Julian Okwara doesn't play tonight or plays a very reserved role. From what I've heard, Julian Okwara has some trade interest from the New York Giants, although they did just trade for Isaiah Simmons, so that could potentially be backtracking a little bit. But from what I've heard, there are a couple teams interested in Julian Okwara, a young player with some bend, with some athleticism. Wouldn't be surprised if there was a market for him, but I would also be a little bit surprised if the Lions were just willing to give up on him like that. They've stuck by him through injury. They've stuck by him with a lot of things over the last couple of years, and he's a player that they very much like in the locker room. So I think that they're going to keep him around unless they get, a 5th-round pick in return. Unless it's pretty significant contribution, unless it's pretty significant payment, I don't think that they're going to be very willing to give up on Julian Okwara quite yet. But we'll see, right? If there's an opportunity to get an extra draft pick, if there's an opportunity to, get rid of your 7th edge rusher for a 5th-round pick or even a 6th-round pick, I think that's at least a gamble that Brad Holmes has to consider, if not full out take into consideration and into action. It looks as though 96 Isaiah Buggs has checked in with Levi Onwuzurike. They're currently on the interior of the line. James Houston again getting pressure, but not quite getting home to the quarterback, with Tracy Walker making a strong tackle. Although Adam Thielen looks like he's certainly feeling that hit from Khalil Dorsey. I don't necessarily like Khalil Dorsey. I know the Lions like him. I know that he's, very fast. I know that he's very aggressive. I know that he kind of fits the style of what the Detroit Lions are trying to build there with their cornerbacks, right? That fast, aggressive, hard-hitting style. But it just seems like Khalil Dorsey, not even necessarily on purpose, is always in a position where he ends up injuring somebody. And I don't like that necessarily. It reminds me a little bit of Jeff Okudah last year, where it's like, yeah, he was running, he was trying to hit people, but he ended up hitting his own teammates. He ended up knocking a couple players out of the games at times. And it just felt a little bit unnecessary for that to happen, right? Last week, he blew up a huge screen pass by hitting the guy right in the knees. He did a full front flip and landed on his head. This time, he hits Adam Thielen, and, Adam Thielen's down for the count, right? He essentially ended Shane Zylstra's season, as he was the one that hit him in the knee and ended up causing him to miss and will likely miss the entirety of the 2023 season. I just get kind of a bad vibe from Khalil Dorsey. I don't feel like there's a lot of spots on this team for him. Even though I don't think he's a bad cornerback, it just seems that every time he's involved in a tackle, every time he's involved with a hit, something seems to go wrong. And that, I don't know, it just bothers me a little bit deep down. Let's see, just a little bit of adjustment here. But the Detroit Lions are currently holding the Carolina Panthers to, I believe, 2nd and 3, although I'm not entirely sure. Bryce Young starting 4 for 4 for 32 yards. Not an ideal start for the Detroit Lions, as well as 2 carries for 8 yards. Again, not ideal, as I do see the Carolina is going to pick up a first down from Raheem Blackshear. I believe that's how you say his name. A 3-yard rush stopped by Will Harris and Khalil Dorsey. I will say Dorsey does like to tackle, which is a good thing for cornerbacks to have, a good trait for DBs to have. Not a lot of DBs like to hit. Khalil Dorsey does, which is probably why he's fighting for a roster spot. Tracy Walker started the tackle, and Khalil Dorsey, that might have even been somebody else, actually. Did come in and kind of knee him in the back. Adam Thielen's talking to the Detroit Lions sidelines. I'm not entirely sure about what, but he seems to be very unhappy with the Detroit Lions sideline. Long time. How are you? Let's go, Levi. I'm doing pretty good. Moved back into college. Got this nice little room to myself. Have the fans absolutely blaring because it is very hot in my room, if you can't already tell from the sweat on my face with 2 fans blowing on me. If the fans are kind of a distraction, if they're a little too loud, let me know. I'll turn them off and I'll just suffer through the heat. But I'm doing pretty good, right? Moved back into college, started playing soccer again. having a great time at school so far, and I'm excited for the Detroit Lions to kick off their season, get back on a more regular schedule for uploads, and just, kind of get back into it. 2nd and 2 for the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young is going to hand it off, and actually we know what happens on this play because he picks up a first down. 1st and 10 for the Carolina Panthers as we get right on into it. But I'm doing very good. I'm having a good time. I'm, enjoying life at the moment and just kind of doing great. I feel you. My apartment's hot. Don't you turn them fans off. I wasn't planning on it, but like I said, if it messed up the audio, if you could hear it and only could hear them, I would have to do that for the stream. But I don't plan on doing it anytime soon. I got a fan right next to me, and I'm not turning it off anytime soon because it gets hot in here, especially with it being so hot outside. 1st and 10 for the Carolina Panthers is a play action. Looks like a screen was blown up by Khalil Dorsey, funnily enough. Maybe all I had to do was talk a little bit of bad about him. Blows up the screen. Bryce Young throws it right into the dirt. 2nd and 10 for the Detroit Lions. That is super, super unfortunate. As we do see, it looks as though Starling Thomas is going to get a defensive pass interference. And that's kind of the give and take you get with Starling Thomas, right? He's a physical cornerback. He likes to play press. He's a little bit grabby. And while he's very good and sticky in coverage, if you can create a little bit of separation and catch him holding, he's going to get caught a couple of times here and there with those holes. Levi Onwuzurike playing edge rush on this play actually creates a little bit of pressure. Deep pass from Bryce Young. However, it is a little bit high, and Tracy Walker was in a position to break that up. Bryce Young is now 4 of 6 for 32 yards, last 2 passes being incompletions. That was a very interesting setup. It looked as though Levi Onwuzurike was the edge rusher with Covington and Buggs on the inside, kind of a more heavy set, maybe expecting a rush from the Carolina Panthers. Didn't quite get there, but we do see it is now 3rd and 10 for the Carolina Panthers. But as we said, we do know that unfortunately Starling Thomas is going to commit a pass interference on this play. But I do want to see how bad it actually is. So Bryce Young's going to throw up a little fade. Yeah, I mean, he grabbed him. It wasn't egregious, but it was probably a flag. Fair enough. Can only do so much about it. Going up against number 83 of the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, definitely grab the shoulder pads for sure. For sure. Probably not an egregious penalty, but certainly a penalty that should have been accepted, should have been called, and should have been accepted by the Panthers. 1st down and 10. Moving into Detroit Lions red zone territory are the Carolina Panthers with 9 minutes and 15 seconds to go. I like the Detroit Lions depth. I like what they have going on. I really like Starling Thomas. Unfortunately, he is a little bit grabby at times, but it's not necessarily a bad thing if you can get away with it. 1st and 10, Romeo Okwara rips around the edge, and him and James Houston both get to the quarterback at the same time. I think it goes down for an official sack for James Houston, or official sack for Romeo Okwara, but that was a combined effort. James Houston absolutely swam right under Ikem Ekwonu. Covington also got in on the hit. It was actually 3 Detroit Lions. Romeo Okwara beat a tight end. James Houston just beat the former number, 8 overall pick, and Ikem Ekwonu. James Houston is going to be just fine this season. 2nd and 17 for the Detroit Lions. Bryce Young, 4 of 6 for 32 yards. Great play by James Houston. Great play by Romeo Okwara as well, but a little bit more impressive by Mr. Houston. James Houston by his feet again. Throw by Bryce Young, but it is incomplete. Forced incomplete by Will Harris. Will Harris, a player that a lot of Lions fans aren't very high on, myself included. I've been pretty low on Will Harris for his time in Detroit, but that was a pretty good play. Played a lot more in the slot last week as opposed to the boundary, which I think he's much more equipped for. I think converting from that strong safety role, he's much better as a nickel defender. Profiles much better as a nickel defender. Defends much better as a nickel defender as opposed to a boundary cornerback. I think if you play him in the slot, he could be a very solid, solidified backup nickel defender. But don't put him on the boundary. He's not built for the boundary. He doesn't have the ball skills for the boundary. As the pass rush gets close again and forces Bryce Young to just throw out the back of the end zone. Starling Thomas and Tracy Walker on the coverage. But yeah, Will Harris, polarizing player, I'd say at the very least. A lot of people don't like him. Every once in a while, makes a big play. More often than not, gets caught holding or gets caught giving up a penalty or a big play. Will Harris, one of the last members of the Bob Quinn regime, wasn't a great pick at the time coming out of Boston College. I thought he was good, showed good instincts. I was excited for the pick. Didn't really play a great role, I think, in the Matt Patricia defense, right? I think they asked him to do a lot in the deep coverage, which wasn't really his game. They tried to make him into a deep fielding ball hawk, which I think he had the speed for, but not really the ball skills or the experience for. And then they kind of played him to cornerback and they put him in the nickel where he played really well. And then, the new coaching staff came in and they kicked him to outside cornerback, which I think was a mistake. I don't think he's really built for that, but they didn't really have a choice because they just didn't have as many people to play it last 2 seasons. And now, now that they have obviously Cam Sutton on the boundary, they have Emmanuel Mosley for the boundary, they have Jerry Jacobs for the boundary, they have Stephen Gilmore, they have, of course, Starling Thomas, who just made a play, right? They have boundary cornerbacks now. They can afford to put Will Harris back inside where he looks a lot better in coverage, looks a lot more fluid, looks a lot better, is allowed to drive more and kind of be more aggressive, which is his best style of play. But it's very interesting. I don't see the Detroit Lions cutting Will Harris because they love Will Harris, right? They like his ball skills. They like his aggressiveness. They like that he's, just a football player and willing to play football at any position on the field. And they love that about Will Harris. I would expect the Lions to keep 6, maybe 7 cornerbacks. Sutton's on the team. Mosley's on the team. Jacobs is on the team. Those are the 3 cornerbacks I feel 100% certain about. I would guess Starling Thomas will make the team. I am probably 90% sure that Will Harris will make the team. That's 5. And then as far as the last cornerback or 2, I think Stephen Gilmore will make it as the 6th. And if we hold 7, Khalil Dorsey might, and I say might, make it as the 7th cornerback, although I am not entirely sure if he is going to make it or if they're going to try to sign and wait for somebody else to get cut from rosters. Not entirely sure. Massive return by Khalil Dorsey. That might help him make the roster as the 7th cornerback. But the cornerback room, I feel like, hey, there's not a whole lot of people to cut, right? You moved on from Jeff Okudah. You moved on from Amani Oruwariye. You replaced them with Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley, and that was kind of your cornerback room, right? Last season, it wasn't very good. You upgraded your top 2. Jerry Jacobs becomes your 3rd cornerback probably, which is a really good 3rd cornerback. And then, you have your slot defenders with Brian Branch and CJ Gardner-Johnson. They're going to be slot cornerbacks / safeties. I'm not counting them in the cornerback count, though. So, you have probably 6 boundary guys, with Will Harris being your 1 slot cornerback. And of course, your safeties of CJ Gardner-Johnson and Brian Branch are taking on the slot role probably more often than he will be. Now, the Detroit Lions are ready to take the field. Number 11 for, I believe that's Johnny Hecker even, is ready to kick off to Khalil Dorsey. And I have a feeling it is going to be a strong return for the Lions. Their special teams, by the way, this preseason, has been really, really strong. Funnily enough, right? I mean, obviously they have a good special teams. Oh, wow. 2 broken tackles. Phenomenal work. I'm kind of upset he didn't return that for a touchdown, to be totally honest with you, but hey, things happen, whatever. The special teams has been very good. We saw a great return in week 1 from Maurice Alexander. We saw a really good return from Starling Thomas and Chase Cota last week, and now a really, really good return again from Khalil Dorsey. Obviously, none of them are taking the job, maybe the kickoff job, but we all know who the punt returner is. That man, Khalif Raymond, is a phenomenal kick and punt returner, a former All-Pro from last season. He's not giving the job away, but if we need a kickoff guy, I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys gets it, if one of those special teams guys is able to make a play. First and 10 for the Detroit Lions. Teddy Bridgewater wearing the normal 17 is certainly something to be watching. Craig Reynolds does break a tackle and is able to get up for 4 yards, but I do believe it is coming back for a holding on James Mitchell, unfortunately enough. Houston is a one-trick pony. That is just not true. That really isn't true. He is a great pass rusher. He is not the most versatile player. I'll give you that. I think Aiden Hutchinson is more polished. I think he has a lot more pass rushing moves. James Houston, I've seen him work inside. I've seen him work outside. I've seen James Houston do a lot of different things to get around the offensive tackle, and he's pretty good at all of them. He's working on adding some more versatility to his bag, right? Working on the off-ball stuff, working on the the coverage stuff, working on the tackle and space stuff and the run defending stuff. But as far as pass rushing, he's not a one-trick pony. He's really good at getting around the edge, right? He's really good at that bend. Teddy Bridgewater dropping back with a good throw to James Mitchell, who I think will be a good player for this team this year. James Houston, very, very good player. He has elite bend for the edge rushing position. He is phenomenal bend to get around the corner, but he also has the strength to get back inside. He's got speed to blitz. He's got a lot of good ability as a pass rusher. So if you're saying, as far as a one-dimensional player, right, he's not a great run defender, not a great off-ball linebacker, sure, but, there's a lot of players like that in the NFL that are wildly successful being a one-trick pony, quote unquote, and doing one thing incredibly well. Offensive line holding up fairly well for the time being. Teddy Bridgewater is forced to throw incomplete, though, after not finding anybody, leading to a 3rd and 13 for the Detroit Lions. But even if James Houston is a one-trick pony, right, even if he had just the one move, nobody has stopped it yet. And how do you stop somebody that can bend as low as James Houston, right? How do you stop somebody that is as physically gifted to get around the edge as James Houston is for the Detroit Lions? Like, no joke, I think that he has not as much bend as Von Miller, but like his ability to bend around the edge and get low to the ground and still stay on his feet to get to the quarterback is very, very Von Miller-esque, right? He's not as good as Von Miller, definitely not what I'm saying, but as far as what he does well and what he looks like when rushing the passer, that man has a little bit of Von Miller to his game. I know you're not calling him trash. I'm just saying, I think that he's added a lot of versatility and he's got some good pass rushing moves. Last year, all he did was get around the edge. This year, I've seen a couple good things in the preseason of him working inside, of him being able to get around, and it's pretty good. Riley Patterson up for the field goal attempt. Really hope he makes it. It looks to be about 53 yards. Not an easy gimme by any means, but something Riley Patterson should be making. And it looks like it was just short. Had really good accuracy, just not quite able. One second, I have RA things to read. I can respond to that later. What happened? Riley Patterson just missed a field goal. Didn't miss it, but he hit the crossbar, which is a little bit, not great. That was kind of his big thing, right? Parker Romo has the leg. Parker Romo can kick it a little farther. Riley Patterson, a little bit more reliable from inside the 40. That one was a little outside the 40, and he was just very, very barely short. I think our DNs can take advantage of the Chiefs tackles. I think they can too. I think that's actually where the Detroit Lions are going to have the biggest advantage in that game because I don't trust the offensive line of the Chiefs. Other than Creed Humphrey, obviously, who's phenomenal, top 5, top 3 center in the game, I don't trust the tackles for the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Both of their tackles weren't great, and Aiden Hutchinson is that guy. James Houston is that guy. Like, I think Romeo Okwara could get a sack in that game. I think Josh Pascal could take advantage of some run support. John Kaminsky is kind of that dude, right? We have some really good deep edge rushers on this team. And I think if the Lions are going to get Mahomes, I think if they're going to be able to get to him, if they're going to be able to, create that chaos, create that pressure, win the game, the Detroit Lions are going to have to win on the edge because no offense to Aleem McNeil, who's definitely watching this and would take offense to what I say. I actually met Aleem McNeil at training camp, which was very cool. So Aleem, if you remember me and you end up watching this video, no offense, I don't love our matchup on the interior versus Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey is a very, very good player, right? Creed Humphrey, like I said, top 3 center in the game. I don't expect to win a lot of matchups from there. I don't expect a ton of pressure to come from the interior, but I do hope that we can at least contain the interior so Mahomes doesn't have a chance to scramble up into the pocket, while Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston absolutely abuse the edges and are able to get Mahomes to the ground. Losing Brown is going to hurt them big time. Yes and no. Orlando Brown wasn't great to begin with. Orlando Brown, good player, grossly overpaid in my opinion, but not a bad player. Right, he is a guy that is solid. Aleem is a 3 tech, I do agree. But they're going to move him around a lot, right? There's a chance that he's going to match up against Humphrey. There's a chance probably Isaiah Buggs is going to go up against Humphreys a lot. Levi Onwuzurike might get a chance to go up against him once or twice. I know that he's a 3 tech, and they're probably going to go up against the guards more than anything, but Creed Humphrey is going to be a part of that interior offensive line. If you're going to get through the interior, you're probably going to have to go through Creed Humphrey at some point. I don't love our matchup on the interior, but I do like our matchup on the exterior. It looks like the Panthers are starting to drive a little bit, which is not great. The Lions are going to send a little bit of a blitz, but aren't really going to get home. And Stephen Gilmore, my guy, is going to get beat by Adam Thielen. Unfortunate for sure, but undrafted rookie free agent versus a former Pro Bowl wide receiver. It's going to happen, right? First team offense versus second, third string defense. Players are going to get beat. That was really weird. The graphic just highlighted Adam Thielen with 3 separate players, and they were all just a black silhouette of, and it had the name of Nate Sudfeld. That was just a funny thing to see. I wasn't ready for that on the screen. But big pass by Bryce Young, given up by Stephen Gilmore. Again, they love that man coverage. They're going to make the rookies play man. And if the rookies can hold up, they're going to do great. If not, they're going to get beat. Is Juwan Taylor and Donovan Smith better than Orlando Brown? No, I don't think that they're better, but I don't think it's like, you're not going from like Penei Sewell, right? You're not going from like Trent Williams, like some elite offensive tackle, to like, a liability, right? You're going from like average, slightly above average, to like average, slightly below average. So I don't think it's going to be a massive downgrade, but I do think it'll be a slight downgrade from what they had, especially in the run blocking game. So Hutchinson and Houston need to have the game of their lives. Game of their lives, maybe not. Good game for sure. I think if the Lions want to win, Hutchinson and Houston are going to have to combine for at least 3 sacks, if not more, for sure. I think they're going to have at least each a sack and a half, if not 2 sacks each. And that's how you're going to have to beat Mahomes, right? You're going to have to put him on the ground. You're going to have to keep him off the field. You're probably, and I say probably because it's happened before with Jared Goff, you're probably not going to win a shootout versus Patrick Mahomes, especially in Arrowhead week 1. But if Chris Jones doesn't play, I like our chances. I really, really do. Not that I think it's like easy guaranteed win, but I do think the Lions can stack up and play some good football versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think it'll be a good game. We might not win it, but I think we'll show the NFL that, we're ready to play this year. 2nd and 9, not a great throw by Bryce Young. Jonathan Mingo is the target in coverage by Starling Thomas, and Starling is certainly letting him hear it. Let me see. I do believe Branch took Walker's spot. That is what I've heard as well. It seems as though Brian Branch has taken that second safety spot, but more so he's won the slot cornerback job. So they've moved CJ Gardner-Johnson up to Tracy Walker's position, hence putting Tracy Walker on the bench. I don't think Tracy Walker being on the bench is necessarily a slap in the face to him. I think Tracy Walker will still play a lot. The Lions in the past couple of years have loved their 3 safety sets quite a lot. And I do think Tracy Walker will play in those 3 safety sets. He just probably won't be a full-time starter, as Julian Okwara actually, I believe, gets the pressure there, but Bryce Young is able to escape up into the pocket and scramble for another first down. Not great coverage great coverage, not great coverage as far as, QB spies keeping the QB contained, but good pass rush, good penetration, good pressure so far, just not the end results that we're hoping to see. So the Carolina Panthers get closer to the red zone. The Lions offense wasn't able to do a whole lot. The Panthers offense is moving. Bryce Young is 6 of 11, which isn't bad for the secondary, is leading the team in rushing, which is a little bit funny. The Detroit Lions don't have a whole lot going on, but their defense, again, playing pretty well to begin with, at least from a points given up perspective. Bryce Young drops back again and is going to check it down to number 3, who is quickly corralled by Jalen Reeves-Maybin. And I don't know if Jack Campbell's on the field anymore. He might be done for the night, just getting that quick series in. But we'll see. Jack Campbell was not in on that play. It is Malcolm Rodriguez and Jalen Reeves-Maybin at the moment. Let us see. Where are we going? I feel pretty good about our O-line against their D-line. I do as well. I think that's a matchup that goes in our favor for sure. But I think our offensive line versus every team is pretty much a matchup that's going to go in our favor, with the exception of probably the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's about it. Branch is just better. Brian Branch is better, but I think Brian Branch is going to play the nickel defender, not so much the deep safety, while CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to go play that deep safety where he played last year to get 6 interceptions. right? It wasn't necessarily like, oh, Brian Branch isn't good enough to beat out Tracy Walker. I think he was. I think that's why he's playing, and Tracy Walker is going to be on the bench potentially. But like I said, I think it's more Brian Branch was so good, so the Lions put him at slot cornerback, so that gave them the option to free up CJ to go somewhere else, which unfortunately was the spot of Tracy Walker, more so than Brian Branch is going to be simply playing over Tracy Walker in the exact same role, is more of what I was saying. Yeah, we're giving up yards, we're bending, but we're not breaking, and that's really what matters, right? If you give up 700 yards in a game and 0 points, you're probably going to win that game, and nobody's going to care how many yards you gave up. I disagree. I think Kirby Joseph plays the single high. I agree. I think he will play the single high, but I think I think that CJ Gardner-Johnson is still going to play that safety role more than seems like a dart to Adam Thielen. There's two safeties. There's two safeties on the field. There can be two deep safeties. There can be one single high safety. The Lions play cover 3. It's probably going to be Kirby Joseph. Lions play cover 2, cover 4. It's probably going to be Kirby Joseph and CJ Gardner-Johnson. There's two safeties on the field for a reason. I think Kirby Joseph is going to play one. I think CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to play the other. If it's a single high thing, Kirby Joseph will be the single high, but there are some plays, there are some schemes where you play more than 2 high defenders, and that's where CJ Gardner-Johnson is going to play. If not, he's going to play kind of that robber position. He's going to play closer to the line of scrimmage because he can make plays around there as well. It's going to be really interesting. I think the Lions have a lot of really good safeties, a lot of really good talent in the secondary. Unfortunately, they didn't quite show it right there as they gave up a huge touchdown to Bryce Young and Adam Thielen, but, whatever. It's fine. It's not like Bryce Young's throwing against the second and third string cornerbacks. Carolina. But, I get it, obviously. Brand new quarterback, want to get him acclimated to the NFL. Get him as many looks as possible before you, put him on the bench and put him for the start. That was kind of a dime. I won't lie. And that was on Will Harris, right? Shocker. But, good, really good throw by Bryce Young. Great touch, great timing. Adam Thielen was able to get it, reach across the end zone. Really good play. Not a horrible play by Will Harris. He wasn't in poor position by any means. But Bryce Young got rid of it on a good time. And Will Harris wasn't quite able to push him out in time. Happens. It's fine. It is what it is. I will say the Panthers ones are struggling against our twos. I wouldn't say struggling. I don't think struggling is necessarily the right word. I think the Panthers offensive line is struggling. I don't think Bryce Young is necessarily having a bad game so far, nor is Adam Thielen, who's, at this point kind of cooking for real. Like, him and Bryce are, cooking up something good. But, like I said, it is the Panthers' second string offense, first string offense versus the Detroit Lions' second to third string offense. But that's not to take away Bryce Young's play, right? Bryce Young's playing well. He's making the right reads, making the right decisions, making the good throws, and the Lions have to be able to match that. Second stringers or not, hopefully these players can step up. Levi was in on a pressure on that play, by the way. Didn't quite see it on the broadcast, but on the replay, he was right in his face, which makes it an even more impressive play by Bryce Young. But I'm going to choose to focus on number 91 because I love Levi Onwuzurike. I want him to be so successful this year that I will take any excuse to talk about him, and I even want to make a video on him. I just haven't quite had the time to sit down and find all the film that I want yet. A Levi video is coming, guys. Like, we're talking about number 91. That guy has been playing very well in the preseason. He might even be the top defensive line as far as PFF grades in the preseason because he's kind of that dude, and he has been playing really, really well. Detroit Lions are down 10-0 towards the end of the first quarter. Teddy Bridgewater has barely seen the field, although he is 2 for 3 for 12 yards. Not bad. The penalty kind of set him back. Weren't quite able to complete with that. James Mitchell, I didn't really get to talk about him when he made a play. 1 catch for 7 yards. Obviously nothing incredible, but I do think James Mitchell is going to be probably the second receiving option at tight end come the end of the year. Him and Sam Laporta are both really athletic. They're both really good field stretchers. Not the best blockers, especially James Mitchell. James Mitchell's kind of that vertical threat. He's kind of that receiver, kind of the more Travis Kelce, as opposed to like the George Kittles of the world. He's that big tight end that can run, that can catch. Another really good return, this time by Antoine Green. Another really good tight end receiving weapon for Jared Goff. They kind of found a little bit of connection at the end of last year. I expect that to continue. Not that he's necessarily going to take Brock Wright's spot, but I do think he is going to be a good asset for the Lions offense, especially if they want to run 3 tight ends, if they want to run 13 personnel, right? They could run out all 3 tight ends. If they want more of a vertical thing on a long passing play, they could bring out obviously Mitchell and Laporta. They want more blockers, like a short yardage situation, they could bring out Laporta and Wright. There's a lot of options they could do, but I do believe that James Mitchell is going to have an option. It's weird I haven't seen any Broderick Martin. Not necessarily. The last couple of games, Broderick hasn't really played until the second to third quarter. They're getting, obviously, Levi in there. They're getting Bugs in there. They're getting Covington in there right now. They're rotating those 3, and then usually Broderick Martin comes in about second, third quarter and is subbed out by the fourth. He's kind of that guy that is probably going to be the last guy on the depth chart, but is going to play more on goal line situations, short yardage situations, as the Detroit Lions about to take the kickoff on the live feed from CBS, as Antoine Green, we already know, has another really good return for the Detroit Lions. Again, special teams, a huge asset for the Detroit Lions so far this preseason. And, again, another player I just want to talk about. I love Antoine Green. Antoine Green is such a good player, and I hate that he hasn't been able to show his field stretching ability because we haven't had a quarterback for him to stretch the field with yet. Hopefully Teddy Bridgewater can help him out with that tonight. If not, I think Jared Goff will certainly help him out with that in the regular season if they get a chance to link up. He's so good. Like, he's long, he's fast. He looks like Marvin Jones did when Marvin Jones came out of Cal, right? He's a really long wide receiver, a really good wide receiver. I just want to see him play more, and I want to see him get some more opportunities down the field because he genuinely is just a really good football player. And he hasn't had the chance to make too many plays other than the screen passes from week 1. That catch is by Trinity Benson, and I think that might be the only catch I ever remember Trinity Benson ever making on the Detroit Lions. And I put this out a couple of days ago as a tweet or as an X or whatever they call it now. Throughout the preseason, the last 3 years, throughout the regular season, I do not remember a single catch that has ever been made by Trinity Benson until this moment right now. Play action, good shot to Chase Cota, tight coverage, but good reception on CJ Henderson, I believe the former first-round pick. Do they have all of their starters out there? J.C. Horn's out there in coverage, which is obviously a starter, a very good cornerback for the Panthers. I think the Panthers are playing their starters right now. Frankie Louvu's out there. Tuttle's out there. I don't know if he's a starter, but I know he's at least fairly good. I do not see Brian Burns. So maybe they're not playing all of the starters, as Craig Reynolds has a nice run up the middle. I don't know if they're playing all of their starters, but they're certainly playing their starting secondary. So if the Lions can't throw the ball, that is why. Right? If the Lions can't move the ball, it's because undrafted rookie free agent Chase Cota can't separate from Pro Bowl caliber cornerback CJ Henderson is not the Pro Bowl cornerback. He's the guy that just got beat. J.C. Horn is a Pro Bowl cornerback who is very, very good when healthy. And if the Lions can't separate, that's probably the reason, is because they're going against literally a Pro Bowl caliber corner, as well as CJ Henderson, who's also out there. Teddy Bridgewater, though, again, kind of cooking, right? 5 for 6, 45 yards. Really good day for 17 so far. It looks a lot more comfortable. The offensive line looks a lot better. Obviously not facing quite as much pressure as they did last week, as it looks like Craig Reynolds is going to pick up another yard there. Not the best run, but not a bad run either. You're able to make it back to the line of scrimmage, pick up a yard, and, get to the, what does it look like? The Lions are at probably the 35, 25, 35, somewhere in there. Knocking on the red zone. They are actually right at the 30. And they're going to keep working. Teddy Bridgewater on 2nd and 9 is going to receive it. Quick screen out to Dylan Drummond, who makes somebody miss and picks up about 6, bringing them probably up 3rd and 3 for this play. And I do believe that is going to be the end of the first quarter for your Detroit Lions. Teddy Bridgewater looking good, 5 for 6, 45 yards. Big strike to Chase. Yeah, big strike to Chase Cota. Nice screen pass to Dylan Drummond, who's able to pick up 5 or 6, like I said. The running game doesn't look great, but they've only had 2 attempts so far. The defense looks pretty solid. The cornerbacks look good versus the Carolina Panthers first team. The pass rush looks great versus the Carolina Panthers starting offensive line. The offensive line for the Lions actually looks fairly competent today versus the starters, or at least some of the starters for the Panthers pass rush. I don't think, like I said, I don't believe Brian Burns is out there, but I do believe Yetur Gross-Matos, the third-year player from Penn State, is out there, as well as a couple other guys that they've drafted the last couple of years. They're out there, but I don't think Derek Brown and Brian Burns are out there, but I think the rest of their starters are. Maybe not Jeremy Chin either, but like I said, J.C. Horn is out there. I've seen him. C.J. Henderson, their starting cornerback, is out there. I've seen Frankie Louvu out there, who I know is a starter from last season. Yetur Gross-Matos is a starter from last season. So they got some players out there for sure that are starters, and the Lions are playing pretty good. The offensive line's holding up. Teddy Bridgewater looks good. The wide receivers are creating separation. Overall, I know we're down 10-0. I know it happens. I know I was talking about how it was dumb that the Lions were the deeper team and they were, not favored in this game, but I do think the Lions are playing a pretty good brand of football. If Riley Patterson could have, just made the kick, it would be 10-3. The Lions would be driving on the edge of the red zone, and we'd be looking to tie it up. But we are not. It is a 10-0 game for the Carolina Panthers. First down, Craig Reynolds. Love to see that. I do wish the starters got a chance to play today. I know we don't want injuries. I know we don't want to, put anybody at significant risk before KC. But if Kansas City can play their starters in the preseason for a half, for a quarter, whatever they played versus the Saints, nobody's too good to start their starters, right? If the defending world champions can play their starters, if they can pay the best player in the NFL for a quarter in the preseason behind a questionable offensive line, the Lions can do so as well. And I don't think that they should have played a half. I don't think they should have played like the full game, obviously, or anything. But one series in an away stadium, right? Crowds against you, crowds booing you, right? Maybe you practiced your silent count for KC because we know what's going to happen. Maybe wouldn't have been the worst idea, but I get where they're coming from, right? You don't want Jared Goff to take a hit before KC and, whatever. You don't want Jared Goff to blow out his knee right before, the first game of what's supposed to be the biggest season of your franchise in a very long time, right? You don't want Jahmyr Gibbs to, end his career in the preseason by giving him too many carries against a meaningless opponent, right? I get it. And I think the scrimmages will help. I think the joint practices will help a lot. But I do think they have yet to go up against an away environment, which could be a challenge considering KC is arguably the second best home field advantage in the NFL, only behind Seattle and their 12s, right? Seattle's a different animal. We don't have to go to Seattle this year, which is nice. Seattle comes to us, but we do have to go to KC. If we started the season going to Arrowhead and then going to Seattle, that would be rough. I would consider that an 0-2 start, but I do think they'll go 1-1, either upsetting the Chiefs or upsetting the Seattle Seahawks. Craig Reynolds was able to pick up that first down. Teddy Bridgewater checking it down to the fullback. Jason Kabinda either makes the play or he drops the pass. It's one of the two. He never just picks up like a solid 1 yard gain or anything, and it's never an easy pass. He always looks like he struggles to bring it in, and he either makes like a good play and makes somebody miss or just flat out drops the ball. Luckily there, he caught it for us and was able to pick up about 4 yards, 3 yards for 2nd and 7. And we're going to let Teddy Bridgewater go back to work. 6 of 7 for 49 yards is pretty good. Pretty good so far for the Lions backup quarterback. Looks like Coda is in motion, and it will be a handoff to Craig Reynolds, who will bounce it outside and pick up a first down. Almost get into the end zone before being pushed out by number 53, who is no longer Brian Burns, as I believe Brian Burns is now wearing 0. Chiefs don't do joint practices, so preseason has a little more emphasis. That's true, but, like I said, if the reigning champions can do it, if Patrick Mahomes can risk playing in the preseason, Jared Goff can risk playing in the preseason, right? Jared Goff is not better than Patrick Mahomes. He's not more vital. It might be more vital. He is I guess my point is I'd like to see them play, right? I want to see the offense play. I don't want to see them get off to a slow start. Rollout by Teddy Bridgewater. Looks like he's going to throw and just actually chucks it right into the dirt. But, I get it, right? Obviously, the joint practices help a ton. The joint scrimmages help a ton. I think that's what the Lions are considering their preseason at this point. I just would have liked to see live game reps, something that's not scripted, some hello. Is that better? Yes, we are back. Again, I apologize for the mic troubles. I don't know why it happens. I don't even touch the microphone after we start recording. But every once in a while, it just stops working, and I don't know why, and it's incredibly frustrating. But the Detroit Lions have scored a touchdown. Craig Reynolds is now 6 of 20, 6 for 25 for a touchdown. Really nice run there between the tackles. We're probably going to lose the microphone once or twice more before this stream is over, but that is okay because we're just here to talk Lions football. We got all night, and again, I apologize for the inconvenience. I apologize for obviously not producing the best content possible. But there's only so much I can do right now other than dropping several $100s on another really nice microphone, or maybe stealing one from the school. But who I wouldn't do that. Yeah, so the Detroit Lions scored their first touchdown of the game. They scored their third touchdown of the preseason, their second rushing and first rushing from a running back. Craig Reynolds looks very good, as we all know that he was. He is the third running back going into the season, and I have no questions about that. Teddy Bridgewater looked good on that drive, was able to get a couple good passes out there. Is currently 6 of 8 for 49, with Chase Cota leading the team with one reception for 21 yards. As One Pride 40 so kindly pointed out, we have officially scored on the Panthers starting defense. Now, again, starting defense with an asterisk. We've scored on the Panthers starting secondary. They're not necessarily their starting pass rush, but we're not playing our starting line either. The Detroit Lions pull it back within 3, and I believe Bryce Young will probably come out for another series, but he may be done. Took his helmet off. Didn't look like he was coming back in, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Apparently, Penei Sewell is on the field, according to the ESPN thing. Apparently, Penei Sewell made the tackle on the field. I don't know what Penei is doing on special teams. He caught a pass last year. I don't know why my guy is running on special teams in the preseason. That seems crazy to me. But, Penei Sewell and Chase Lucas combined for the tackle there on kickoff. That is hilarious. He's a versatile player, guys. Penei Sewell, love Penei Sewell. I wanted Penei Sewell so bad. I think Brad Holmes made the first pick as perfect as he possibly could have. I love that Penei Sewell. Obviously, he wasn't on this kickoff team. It was just a glitch by ESPN, somebody not doing their job right. Would it shock anybody if Penei Sewell had a rushing touchdown this year? Would it shock anybody if Penei Sewell had even a passing touchdown this year somehow? They're going to run Penei in motion. They're going to hand it off on a jet sweep, and Penei is going to flip it to Amon-Ra in the end zone or some crazy things. And that sounds crazy, but really how crazy is that? That they're going to somehow get the ball in Penei's hands, and Penei is going to throw the ball, or Penei is going to have a rushing touchdown or a rushing first down or something. It's going to be wild. Because this is totally hypothetical, has no merit to anything that's going on. This is just a funny rant that I am literally thinking of on the spot. Crazy. I didn't see Penei out there. That looked like 59 to me, not 58, but whatever. How funny. Who was stopping Penei Sewell, right? Like you hit it to Penei Sewell on a fullback dive on like 3rd and 1 or like, 3rd and goal from the 1. Like you're not stopping Penei Sewell. That would be like William Perry, the fridge levels of ridiculous. And yet it would totally work because Penei Sewell is athletic enough where I think you could hand him the football and my guy would like probably dive over the offensive line, which is crazy. He's a crazy athlete. I'm kind of excited, obviously, to watch Penei Sewell play right tackle, but like every once in a while, I'm just going to expect Penei Sewell to do something crazy. What a hit by Stephen Gilmore. Wow. Shi Smith made the catch. It was a really good catch. Bryce Young, or not Bryce Young, because Andy Dalton's playing now. Andy Dalton kind of let him high and out to dry, but wow, Stephen Gilmore laid a hit. Good play by him for sure. I like Stephen Gilmore a lot. UDFA out of Marshall. He's a player that had an interception last week versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Player that played really good, had 2 passes defended as well as an interception. Big hit right there. And another good tackle, steps up into the gap and ends up making a tackle on, what was it? I believe Reed Blackshire, I believe was his name. Younger brother of former All-Pro cornerback Stephon Gilmore. And he's playing really well in the preseason. Like I said, I think he'll make it. Having a Gilmore on your secondary is never a bad thing. And Stephen Gilmore has played more than well enough to, I think, make the roster this time around. Not that he had a chance before. He is a rookie in a UDFA, but I think he is good enough to make the roster. Little RPO quick pass there, and it looks like Ian Thomas is going to drop that one, leading up to a 4th and 2 for the Detroit Lions. Should we have traded for Simmons? I think not. I don't think so. I thought at least that Panthers. I thought that the Arizona Cardinals were going to get more out of him. I was extremely high. If you guys were around, I was super, super high very early in my little YouTube career on Isaiah Simmons. I wanted Isaiah Simmons. I thought he was the right pick. I wanted him more than Jeff Okudah, although I did think Jeff Okudah was going to be very good as well. I thought the Cardinals were going to get more out of Isaiah Simmons. He's not as physical as I thought he could become, right? Being what is like 6'2", whatever. I don't remember how heavy he is, but he's like a big guy, right? He's 6'2". He's long. He's built like a DB. He's built like a safety, but he doesn't tackle. He doesn't run support. If anything, he's probably the best at blitzing around the edge right now, which is probably ironically the least thing he did in college of all the versatile ways that they played him, right? He played a lot in coverage at Clemson and for some reason came to the NFL and just couldn't do it anymore. He played a lot of DB. He played a lot of safety in the preseason for the Cardinals and just never did it very well, got beat a lot. He's a good coverage linebacker, but he's not physical enough to tackle at the linebacker position. If I was the Giants who just traded a 7th round pick for Isaiah Simmons, right? You probably have to pay him next year if he plays well. I'm putting him in on sub packages, maybe obvious coverage downs. And that's probably it, right? I'm playing him solely at linebacker. And if he doesn't want to play at linebacker, he's not playing, right? I would have called him before we traded. I would have been like, hey, we're going to trade for you. You're going to play coverage linebacker. You're going to play Sam or even Will linebacker. And you're going to do it, right? We're going to send you on some blitzes. We're going to, set you in coverage against tight ends and running backs because that's the only thing you can cover. And we're going to see what happens. But you're not playing safety anymore because you're a liability, right? You don't run support. You don't tackle very well in the open field. You get blocked by, 5'10" Sky Moore in the preseason. You're not doing the thing, my guy. And that's why I got traded for a 7th round pick. And his stats actually look pretty good. Not 1st round, 7th overall pick good, but they look pretty good for a 7th round selection that you give up to get him, as the Detroit Lions drive is currently stalling out in front of our very eyes. And like you said, you still don't know what position he's going to play, right? You don't know. Wow, great play by Dylan Drummond. You don't know what role Isaiah Simmons is going to have. He's not a great safety. He's not big enough or willing enough to tackle to play linebacker. And yeah, I think you could develop him into a good blitzer, maybe even an edge rusher-esque guy, but he's not big enough or heavy enough to really do that. So what you're left with is a tall, athletic football player who's built like a DB, but doesn't have the coverage skills of a DB, who doesn't want to play linebacker despite only really being good enough to cover tight ends and maybe a few running backs, and not being willing enough to tackle. It's a weird situation. It really, really is. Is Teddy Bridgewater missed Chase Cota on the comeback route there. But it's just a weird situation because like you don't have a defined position for him. He's not good enough in coverage to be a safety. He's not tough enough against the run to be a linebacker, and he's certainly not polished enough to be an edge rusher, right? So where do you put him, right? You're left with a positionless freak athlete. I don't know. It's a weird situation. I thought, 7th-round pick seems kind of low for him, but considering he's on his last year of his deal, it kind of does make sense. Like how would he fit this team and what would he bring to the table that Campbell and Branch don't really have much? Wow, what a throw. What a dime by Teddy Two Gloves. Love that to Dylan Drummond. Yeah, he wouldn't fit on the Lions roster. I never thought Isaiah Simmons would be a guy to trade for the Detroit Lions. If they're going to trade for somebody, trade for like a depth wide receiver, trade for like maybe even a depth tight end if you really aren't sold on, if you want a fourth guy like Shane Zylstra for injury purposes, right? Like get a weapon, maybe get a fourth running back since Mo Ibrahim went down if you don't love Jamar Jefferson. Maybe a secondary member if you don't love having a bunch of UDFAs on your back end of the roster. But like Isaiah Simmons wouldn't fit. Isaiah Simmons would get traded here to get cut is like the crazy thing, right? Because he's not making it at safety, right? He's not making it over Kirby Joseph, Tracy Walker, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Brian Branch. I wouldn't even take him over Ifeatu Melifonwu because at least Ifeatu has showed that he's willing to hit people. Right? Yeah, he might be a glass cannon, but that boy can hit. That guy can cover, and that guy's willing to play the position he's asked to be played. Right? Isaiah Simmons is not willing to hit. He's not willing to cover. He's not as good as Ifeatu Melifonwu at this point, despite, again, Ifeatu being kind of a glass cannon. He's kind of a dangerous glass cannon because when he's hitting people, he's hitting people. So at best, he's safety 6, and then at this point, I would just have Brandon Joseph over him anyway because, again, Brandon Joseph can hit people. Brandon Joseph has been really good in coverage in the preseason, and like that makes him your safety 7, which is not making the roster. He's not going to stick on a practice squad because somebody will sign him off waivers. Oh, that is bad DPI there by probably CJ Henderson, if I'm being honest. I only see the 2. I don't see the second number. But yeah, no, Isaiah Simmons would not fit here. You wouldn't want him at linebacker because the Lions love their big linebackers, right? Alex Anzalone, big guy. Rodrigo doesn't really fit that, but he's a physical player. Campbell, the big linebacker, right? Jennings Maber, physical linebacker, right? They love their physical guys, and Simmons just isn't really that. And then obviously he's not going to be an edge rusher or a will because you don't need it. You have a bunch of guys to play that position. Trade for my boy Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel could be interesting. He's obviously a speed guy, formerly of, funnily enough, the Carolina Panthers, Ohio State alumni. Kind of a gadget player, incredible speed. I just don't think the Commanders are going to sell him is the thing, right? I believe he's still with the Commanders. If he's not, correct me, but I'm fairly certain he's still with the Commanders. I don't think they're going to sell him, right? The Commanders look good this preseason. They have, I'm a big believer in Sam Howell. Like, I support Sam Howell. I think he will be a very good quarterback in the NFL. I thought he was coming out. And I think he still is, despite the inconsistencies at North Carolina. They have Terry McLaurin, who's very good. They have Curtis Samuel, who's very good. They have Jahan Dotson, who's really, really good. I believe they still have Logan Thomas, I think is his name, the former Detroit Lions tight end, who's kind of an underrated receiving guy there. So they have good weapons, right? They have Brian Robinson, I want to say, and Ashawn Gibson. Gibson is his last name. I can't think of his first name. They have him. They're 2 good running backs. Like their offensive line, to my knowledge, isn't like atrocious. I don't think it's like amazing, but I don't think it's bad. So like, and then their defense is obviously good. Their front 7's still very good. Their secondary's got some guys. Like I don't know if they're obviously not going to win the division, right? You're not beating Dallas. You're not beating probably even New York. They might finish last in the division, but they also might go 8-9 or even 9-8. and finish last in the division because the Giants could win 10 games, Dallas could win 12, and Philadelphia realistically could win like 13, 14 games again, right? So the NFC East is kind of the biggest division in football right now, and I don't think the Commanders are going to be willing to sell that guy, even though he might be the third option. I think they still have a plan for him. One guy will say, I think the Detroit Lions, oh, you got to catch that, Chase. You got to catch that, Coda. You gotta have that one. One guy I do think the Lions could trade for is Rondale Moore, the young wide receiver, formerly of the Purdue Boilermakers, drafted by the Cardinals in the third round, I want to say, and absolute speed demon, right? That guy can return punts. That guy, funnily enough, actually a little bit reminds me of Khalif Raymond. Kind of that Curtis Samuel build, kind of that gadget player vibe, kind of, that deep threat that can catch the ball over the shoulder, be, your substitute running back, your, jet sweep guy, your pitch guy, your kick and punt returner, your gadget guy. I think he'd be a lot cheaper because he's coming from the Cardinals, who just got rid of a former first-round pick for a seventh, right? You could send them, the conditional seventh you sent for Denzel Mims and be like, hey, if this guy makes the team, you get your seventh. And if not, like, you don't get anything. Not that I think they're going to necessarily cut him, so that might not work the same. But, Rondale Moore kind of fits the same bill. It kind of fits a similar vibe and would be, I think, significantly cheaper than Curtis Samuel, both contractually as well as compensation for trade. There's a lot of people that think that they're having a fire sale. Realistically, they probably are. Like, I think they're in a Matt Patricia situation where, like, they know they're not going to be very good. Like, a lot of people seem to already have this idea that the head coach isn't very good. The head coach is not where he's supposed to be. He's not the guy. He's already kind of having some issues with, people on the team, which is why Isaiah Simmons is already gone, which is why they've, gotten rid of a couple people already. I think that vibe is already kind of in the locker room, which is obviously unfortunate for Jonathan Gannon. But, with that being said, that's not our problem, right? If they're having a fire sale, go out and get him, right? If they're having a fire sale, if you can get Rondale Moore for a 7th round pick, go get him, right? If you can get, I don't know, there's not very many people that are going to get on the Cardinals right now, but, let's look it up. We're on commercial break. Let's look up, Arizona Cardinals depth chart. I want to know. I want to know what's going on here, right? Obviously, you're not trading for Kyler Murray, but like Marquise Brown, right? Marquise Brown could be really interesting for like a 6th, right? I don't know if they're giving away for a 6th, but if it's like a low deal like it was for Isaiah Simmons, why not call him like, hey, what do you want from Marquise Brown? Oh, a 6th round pick? Deal. Like, bring him in. He'll be our deep threat for 6 games. And, he'll sit on the bench for the rest of the year. Or, him and Jamo will team up and be like a speed demon duo, right? Same thing with Rondale Moore. Or I just moved the cord. I don't know how the microphone didn't break, but whatever. I don't want anybody on the offensive line. But, like, maybe you bring in, like, Zaven Collins, a former first-round pick who's not really working out. Maybe you bring in, like, Zaven Collins, right? The former first-round pick. There's not a whole lot on the Cardinals, to be totally honest, that I love. But you get what I'm saying, right? If there's an option for, like, Hollywood Brown, call about it. Josh Woods. Shout out to Josh Woods, the 4th-string Will linebacker on the Cardinals. Mike linebacker on the Cardinals. That guy used to be a Lion. I like that guy. Juju Hughes as well. Actually, again, former Lion. They're just taking all of our, like, 4th and 5th string guys. It's funny. Maybe there's a place for a guy like Zaven Collins. Maybe there's a room for, a Rondale Moore or a Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown may be even better because, he's a little older. He's on a bigger contract. And, you're going to have that ability to, use him. I could see the Rams going and fire someone. I could too, but I don't think they will, right? Not yet. I could see the Rams really selling people if they're like 1-5. Trying, testing, fantastic. We're back again. I hate it. Rams. First off, Levi Onwuzurike just made a great tackle for loss. Phenomenal play. Read the screen really well and got there. I'm really impressed. That was my reaction in the silence. Secondly, Rams. I think the Rams could go into a fire sale. Levi again almost got there for a sack. That was really nice. I think he could. I think the Rams could be in a fire sale, but I think it's going to be like a wait and see type thing for the Rams, right? Because, Sean McVay is still there. Matt Stafford's still there. Cooper Kupp is still there. Aaron Donald is still there. Like, you, at the upper end of your football team, you have two of the best players at their position in the football, right? But if you have Stafford playing healthy and you have Aaron Donald playing healthy and you have Cooper Kupp that's healthy and you're still 1-6 or 1-5 at, by the time the trade deadline gets here, you don't have a future, right? Wow. Who just made that play? Jalen Reeves-Maybin just absolutely shot through the gap. What a great play. You don't have a future, right? You don't have a lot of picks, right? You don't have a lot of cap space. So you're probably not going to be able to trade Stafford midseason. But like, I could see them trading Donald for a second, first round pick, second round pick, whatever it's going to take for Donald, and try to get picks back with cap space, right? I could see them trading Cooper Kupp away, who's 29, 30 already, and still very good, right? He'll fetch a high pick. Like, he'll probably still get a second round pick, if not even a first. Great PBU by Anthony Pittman. But I think they're going to wait and see, right? They still have a great play caller. They still have a great playmaker. They still have a great defender, right? There's still options for them. Dude, Levi Onwuzurike is mauling people right now. It's incredible. I love 91 already. What other teams could you see going into a fire sale? Not that many, actually. I think there's a lot of teams that are either in a position to compete now, in a position to compete in a year or two, or not willing to fully blow it up yet. Levi just got double teamed and still pushed that guard like 6 feet in the backfield. That's incredible. Levi Onwuzurike videos are coming out soon, like real soon. I don't know what the flag was on. Probably holding, because they just absolutely grabbed Levi Onwuzurike and he said, "Nah, I'm good." Or maybe they hooked James Houston. Yeah, that's fine. But there's not very many fire sale teams, right? The Cardinals are one because they're not going to be very good. I don't think the Rams are going to do it until later. Maybe the Buccaneers, but they're in such a weak conference, and they still have Mike Evans, and they still have Chris Godwin, and they still have Rachaad White, who was pretty good last year, and they still have a decent offensive line. They still have some playmakers on defense, where it's like, yeah, if Baker Mayfield like fully exceeds expectations, I think they could win 6-7 games, which is not like a playoff spot, but it might be in the NFC South. Levi could turn into a starter if he keeps this up. Yeah, I think Levi will be a starter. Like, maybe not week 1, but him and Aleem McNeil are going to create some chaos on the interior this year. If he's healthy, he's going to be a monster. The Baker Mayfield situation in Tampa Bay could be fun. Could be something. Again, they're not going to win many games, I don't think, but it's hard to say, right? Are you getting the Baker Mayfield from Carolina, or are you getting the Baker Mayfield that led the Cleveland Browns to an 11-6 record and took them to the divisional round, right? if you get the divisional round Baker, he could cook with those weapons, right? But what Baker are you getting? That's the problem. And if it's the Baker we all think we're getting, they're probably going to win like 4 games. Which case they could, sell Mike Evans, they could sell Chris Godwin, they could sell Devin White, they could sell Antoine Winfield Jr. They have a talented roster. They have a very poor quarterback, right? I don't think they're that far away from competing, but I think they're so bad at the most important position in football that they're probably going to win 5 games this year, and then draft Caleb Williams or Drake May, and they're going to bounce right back up to 8 or 9 win team in their rookie season because they're still talented. So I don't think they're going to be a fire sale. I don't think the Commanders are talented. The Commanders have a lot of talent, actually. Again, I'm a big believer in Sam Howell. That offensive line is fine. Their weapons are really good. Their defense is solid, right? Not elite, but solid for sure. And yeah, they're in a super strong division, but the Commanders could win 9 games this year. Realistically, obviously your division's going to be tough. Good catch by Dylan Drummond. Obviously your division's very tough, right? With the Cowboys, with the Eagles, with the Giants, all 3 of them being playoff teams a year ago. But I do think the Commanders in any other division compete for a playoff spot. They compete for a division title in any other division that's not the NFC East, right? You go to the North, they're probably competing for the North with the Lions, Bears, and Vikings, right? You put them in the East being, I'm blanking right now on the East. Who's over there in the NFC East? What the heck? Because the West is San Francisco, who they're not beating, Seattle, who they're not beating. But they're probably better than the Rams, and they're probably better than the Cardinals. Not that that's super impressive. And then the East is where they are, obviously. So, they probably compete in the North of the NFC. They'd probably compete in the South of the NFC. In the AFC, I think they'd win the South of the AFC. I think that they are, better than a lot of teams, right? They're better than the Texans. They're better than the Colts probably right now. They're better than the Titans right now. They're better than probably the Broncos and the Raiders. They're better than who's in the AFC North? Probably nobody in the North. Maybe the Browns, but I don't think so. They're a very middle of the pack, 8-win team. I don't think they'd be a fire sale. You got Quinn Ewers too. You do. That's true. You talking about Green Bay? Green Bay, I don't think is very good. They were 8-9 last year because of us. Big flex there. They were 8-9 because of the Detroit Lions. Dylan Drummond is having a good game. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 36 yards. Great day for him. Craig Reynolds also having a very good day. He's playing great in the preseason. Although the Lions did just punt, so that's not saying too much. Quarterback. Great quarterbacks in this class, right? I think there could realistically be 4 or 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. If Caleb Williams declares, which officially he isn't right now, but we all know that he's going to be the first overall pick, like Bryce Young was last year, right? Officially, he's not here, but we know that Caleb Williams is going to be the first overall pick. We know that Drake May is probably going to come out of North Carolina. We know that Quinn Ewers is probably going to come out of Texas. We know that Michael Penix is probably going to come out of Washington. We know J.J. McCarthy is probably going to come out of Michigan. If he plays better like he did the last couple of games, he could go in the first round, realistically. I think Jalen Daniels from LSU is a really good first-round caliber quarterback. I had him graded as a first-round pick last year. He went back to school. I think he'll be a first-round pick this year. I really, really do. Who else is around college football right now? KJ Jefferson from Arkansas is pretty good. I don't think he's a first-round pick, but I think he's probably a Hendon Hooker of this class, where it's third round, older quarterback, good wheels, not elite, but good. Go get him. 3rd, 4th round, right? Great quarterback. Who else is in the Big Ten? Freaking nobody, but there's some good quarterbacks. The Pac-12 is getting some good quarterbacks out. The SEC is going to get 1 or 2 out there. Like I said, Jaden Daniels is really, really good. Now apparently Texas is in the SEC now, so Quinn Ewers is really, really good. I think it might be the deepest quarterback class in a long time. Not that the Lions need a quarterback because Jared Goff is fine. He's got 2 more years left, and they just drafted Hendon Hooker, who's probably their future. But I feel like it'd be really hard to sit there if even if you're at 20, 25, right? And you're okay, Quinn Ewers is on the board, right? Or Jaden Daniels is on the board. Or, again, if JJ has a great day, if JJ has a great season, has a great year, right? Are you looking at JJ McCarthy in the face being like, that guy, former 5-star quarterback, like winner at Michigan, probably fits the system we have really well. Are you going to look at him and be like, yeah, but we have Hendon Hooker? Like, that's just, I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting situation next year because cornerback is really loaded. Quarterback is really loaded. Defensive line, from what I've heard, is like pretty good. Secondary in general is really good. I know there's a great guy great guy out of Iowa, great player out of Penn State, great player. Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama is really, really good, obviously, because he's an Alabama defensive back. Denzel Burke from Ohio State is pretty solid. Not great, but Ohio State DBs have that aura around them, so he might get first-round buzz towards the end of the year if he plays really well. Next year might be the deepest draft we've ever seen. I don't know about deepest, but as far as like the top, I think you can make an argument that there's at least 3 generational talents in this class, which is crazy because generational talent is obviously a word that gets thrown around a lot and isn't always used correctly, but it's hard to argue against it, right? I think Caleb Williams, maybe not generational, but historic is probably up there. Like Caleb Williams is the best prospect since Trevor Lawrence, who is going into his 3rd year now. So Trevor Lawrence will be in the last year of his rookie contract by the time Caleb Williams steps on an NFL field. Caleb Williams is great. Caleb Williams is the best quarterback since Trevor Lawrence. You have Marvin Harrison Jr., who's the best wide receiver since Jamar Chase. You have Brock Bowers, who is the best tight end since Kyle Pitts. So really, basically, this is a repeat of the 2020 NFL draft class is what I'm eventually getting to. And basically, really good skill players at the top, right? Brock Bowers is going to step on the field and be an elite tight end, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to step on the field, be an elite wide receiver. Caleb Williams is going to step on the field, be an elite quarterback. Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to step on the field and be an elite CB for any team in the NFL, right? I don't know linebackers. I don't know front seven very well. Not yet, at least in college football, but there's probably some good players out of the SEC for sure. Selfishly, I want Marvin. I would love Marvin Harrison. Like, no joke. If the Lions drafted Marvin Harrison or even like Emeka Egbuka, I would genuinely be so happy. Or who's the guy that just transferred from SU? Like Keon Coleman for FSU now is really good. He's a really good wide receiver. If you land either of the wide receivers from Ohio State, like that's a W. That's a W draft for real. Like if you walk out with Marvin Harrison, you've won the draft. Other than Caleb Williams, right? If you walk out with Caleb Williams, you've won the draft. If you walk out with Marvin Harrison and you didn't need a quarterback, you got the best player in the country. You truly, truly got the best player in the country. And I would not even be mad if the Lions traded up and gave away like 2 first-round picks to go get Marvin Harrison, to go be the X wide receiver, let Jameson be the Z, let Amon-Ra work in the slot, let Khalif be that 4, let, even what's his name, Josh Reynolds be that 5 or Marvin Jones be that 5. I'd be so down, like actually so down. Kind of funny the Niners traded away Trey Lance. Hilarious. Love that for the 49ers. I'm happy for Trey Lance. I think he's going to be better somewhere else. Don't sleep on Charles Brantley from MSU. I know nothing about Charles. I've never heard that name until tonight. So I'll keep an eye out. I'm genuinely not versed yet because other than the stars of college football who's returning, like I don't know a lot of the underclassmen that are becoming juniors. I don't know necessarily a lot of the incoming draft class. I know some of them, right? I know some of the big names, but until I do some more work on it, until I watch college football this year, I genuinely don't know a lot. Like I'm big into college football, but I don't know like all the freshmen and juniors. I don't know all the freshmen and sophomores from last year becoming sophomores and juniors. So there's a very good chance I don't know everybody. He's feisty for sure. But like I said, if you're walking out, like I think a sneaky target for the Lions this offseason, obviously we're a long way from the offseason, but like if the Lions could go out and snag Emeka Egbuka in like the middle of the first round, like trade up a couple spots because we know we're going to be in the playoffs. If they can snag like Emeka Ibuka in like the 15 to 20 range, what a dime by Day Dalton. I would do it. I would absolutely trade up for Emeka Ibuka because that guy is phenomenal. He's so good. Obviously, if you have the chance and you can go get like Marvin Harrison Jr., go do it. Like if the Lions vastly underachieve this year for some reason and you're in like the top 15 and you're like, we need a wide receiver because JMO didn't work, like go get him, right? I guess you don't have a ton of draft assets anymore because you've used all your first round picks, but like you don't have a ton of holes. Your roster's super young. You're not losing a whole lot of players very soon. You have a ton of cap space. Like go take a risk. Right, go out and trade for go out and trade up for Marvin Harrison. I don't know, just kind of my opinion. I probably won't be looking at draft prospects early this year because the Lions will be good. Yeah, I'm not giving up on JMO. I'm just saying like in that hypothetical scenario where like JMO comes back and he's like an average wide receiver, right? He's not elite, but he's not bad, right? He's just kind of there. He's kind of making some plays, but not really what we want to see, right? And I still think even if James was great, we could still use an X. Oh, my boy Chase Lucas with that career interception. Yes, sir. I'm not giving up on JMO. I'm not giving up on JMO at all. Just more of like a hypothetical, right? JMO is okay. JMO's fine. Amon-Ra's great. Go get Marvin Harrison to be your X. Go get Emeka Ibuka to be your X from Ohio State. And you're cruising on offense. I really, really think you are because you can't go wrong with an Ohio State wide receiver. You just can't. I'll be looking into draft prospects this year early, like I do every year, just because I like to, right? Just because I genuinely enjoy doing it. I forgot Deuce Staley was on the Panthers now. Just because I love the draft, just because I love the process of it, just because I love watching college football tape, I will probably watch college football and I will watch tape and I will watch the 2023 class early. Any day but Sunday, and any day the Lions aren't playing. Oh, what a good defense there by Trevor Nowaski on 3rd and 7. I dropped my fidget pen. Snag that right back because I need something to play with because my hands don't sit still. What was I saying? Yes, I am going to watch a lot of film this year early because I love it. Thoughts on the Trey Lance deal? Did anything official come out yet? I don't know what they gave up. That's like the thing. I also really want to watch this Chase Lucas interception. I think it's a dog. Oh, what a snag. Oh, my God. Dove right in front of him. Oh, my God. Phenomenal play. I think he's down, but love that for him. Love that for my boy. He says he's not down, but the clock's not going. So we're going to see. They give up a 4th. That's not bad. That's not awful at all. Like, yeah, Trey Lance isn't great, but it's also early. What an absolute snag. Oh, yeah, he got kicked in the face. No wonder he's down. Yeah. He's definitely down in the end zone. That's fine. Wow, what a play by Chase Lucas. I love that guy. I love this whole team. I'm just so excited to watch. If you can't tell, I'm so genuinely excited to watch the Lions play well. I'm so genuinely excited to see this team. I just love Detroit, man. I love Detroit sports. It's so awesome. A 4th round pick for Trey Lance. That seems a little high considering what just happened with Isaiah Simmons, but not bad. Not bad, right? More important position. Trey Lance has only played 4 games, which is absolutely insane. I don't know. It's an awful look on the 49ers part. Like truly, truly a bad look. That's a poor ball by Teddy. Really poor look on the 49ers organization. They should have either drafted Mac Jones, who can work in that system a little better, or they should have drafted Justin Fields, who has a quicker processor. My boy, Antoine Green, 70-yard touchdown reception. It's coming up right now. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to get back to you, One Pride 40. Give me like 2 seconds. I want to see this boy Antoine cook by Teddy B. You ready? Bang. Drop back. Curl route. Okay, maybe we're waiting for the next play. Hold on. Give it a second. Yeah. Dylan Drummond caught it. They're like, yeah, hurry up. Just kidding. We're going to call a timeout. And we're going to get back to the Antoine Green 70-yard touchdown in a second. I believe Detroit took one. Yes. Okay. Let's see. What do I think about the Chiefs? Oh, do you think we can beat this? I think we can beat anybody. I don't think there's a team in the NFL the Detroit Lions cannot beat on any given Sunday. Like, yeah, I get like that's the saying, right? Oh, any given Sunday. But actually, I don't think there's a team, the Lions, you're going to look at their schedule and be like, there's a 0% chance that this team wins, right? Because they have a top offense in the league. They have defensive playmakers. They have really good coaching, right? They're not the best team in the NFL. They're not as talented as the Eagles. They're not as talented as San Francisco. They're not as talented as like Kansas City or Cincinnati or even Buffalo probably. But, right, you compare it to those teams, right? And you're like, well, let's say they play the Niners 10 times, right? I would feel confident saying the Lions win at least one of those matchups. Like, let's say the Lions play the Eagles 10 times. I bet the Lions play at least one of those matchups. Oh, what a ball. Yes, sir. Antoine Green to the crib. I love that. That probably puts Antoine Green on the roster for week 1. I think we can absolutely beat the Chiefs, but I'm not expecting to beat the Chiefs, right? I think the Lions will lose week 1. I think it's Aaron Glenn or maybe Drew Bly talking to Chase Lucas. I love that play from Antoine Green. It's just a good – what happened? He kind of like ran a dig, I think. Really deep dig route. Yeah, he starts on the boundary, gets about 20 yards, breaks in while Drummond takes everybody up, catches it underneath. Bang. And Dylan Drummond leads the way for the touchdown. Love that. Love that for the Lions. I think the Lions can beat anybody on any given day. I really do. I don't think there's a team in the NFL the Lions are incapable of beating, even if they're not favored to win, right? I expect Kansas City to win week 1. I think it's really hard to go into Arrowhead and win. But if you told me the Lions walk out with like a game-winning field goal or like they win by a score, I wouldn't think that's crazy. Because the Lions have an offense to go toe-to-toe with anybody. And now they have a defense full of some playmakers to take the ball away a couple times a game. Even if they're going to give up like 20, 25 a game, their offense is going to be fine. Their offense is going to be more than willing to do that because they're not giving up 35 this year. I find it funny they value a bad QB over a player that has no position. Yeah, I think that's just because that's how valuable the quarterback position is. Right? Did we just recover a fumble? What is happening? Hold on. We're about to start. His defense is crazy. Yes. I think the quarterback position is that valued in the NFL that even looking for a backup is going to cost you like a 4th-round pick. Like, we did just recover a fumble. That's crazy. The quarterback position is very good, right? The Cowboys saw, right, if Dak Prescott goes down, they're in trouble, right? And they think they have a window to go win now. Realistically, do they? I don't know. But they think that they do. And they think that this window with Dak Prescott, they think they have this window with their offense and their defense. And they don't want an injury to derail that, right? They want to give themselves the best chance to win, even without Dak Prescott being at the helm. And I think that best chance probably is Trey Lance, even though he's only 2-2 as a starter, even though he's not great, at least hasn't shown to be great yet. I think that's the going price for a good backup quarterback, because I think Trey Lance is a good backup quarterback. Right? I would take Trey Lance over a majority of second-string quarterbacks in the NFL. I would take him over Sam Darnold. I don't know what the San Francisco 49ers are thinking. I don't think Sam Darnold is anything that good. But, I would take him over that. Oh, we totally did. Khalil Dorsey just popped that thing out. Phenomenal. Who picked it up? Was it Trevor? I think Trevor Nowaski picked that up. Oh, no, Brady Breeze. Brady Breeze got the fumble recovery. I like Brady Breeze a lot. Good player, great special teams guy. Glad to see him making plays in the preseason. But yeah, I think even over a fairly productive DB like Isaiah Simmons going for a 7th, you're going to get an unproven guy like Trey Lance to go for a 4th. because it's just that valuable of a position. Great hit by Khalil Dorsey. Well, we finally have this thing called pressure, which didn't exist in Patricia's defense. That's true. That is true. I think the Lions will have a lot of pressure. I just fundamentally disagreed with Matt Patricia's era. Like, I hated that we fired Jim Caldwell to begin with, because how do you fire a guy that took you from, obviously not directly from 0-16 to the playoffs, but like realistically, right? He came in first year, you went 11-5, went to the playoffs. You didn't win, but you were there for the first time in a long time, right? Then you have a 7-9 season. Then you have a 9-7 season, right? You go back to the playoffs. You should have won that playoff game, and the refs kind of took it back. It happens. Another real good throw and catch by Teddy B and Antoine Green. Antoine Green's making this roster. Right, it takes you 9-7. You go to Dallas in 2014. You lose that tough playoff game. Happens. You go 9-7 again. Right, you're on the borderline of that wild card. Are you getting better? I don't know. Right, is the rushing attack there? It's not. Is the passing attack there? Absolutely. Is the defense there at least good enough? Yeah, for sure. But I didn't love the firing of Jim Caldwell. As soon as the Lions announced that they were hiring Matt Patricia, the day after the Super Bowl, where his defense just absolutely collapsed, I hated it. I hated every second of it. I had a feeling from the very beginning that Matt Patricia was not the guy. I just had this gut feeling that he was not the guy. And I don't know. I don't love the Patriots' way of doing things, right? I think just fundamentally building your defense secondary forward just doesn't make sense to me. Because, you could have prime Deion Sanders. If prime Deion Sanders is covering for 10 seconds, he's going to get beat. You know what I mean? Like, if there's no pressure, there's no chance for your defensive backs to be successful, which is why I love what Brad Holmes did. He came in and he was like, hey, we're going to go get a Mauler on the offensive line at Penei Sewell. And then the next year, we're going to get a absolute devastation machine on defense in Aiden Hutchinson. And hey, all of a sudden, we're getting pressure, and the secondary, not great, but, forced a few more turnovers. And he's like, okay, well, now we have our pressure, so we're going to go get DBs that can cover. And he went and got Sutton and Mosley and has Jerry Jacobs from UDFA. And he's like, hey, that's my defense, right? And we're going to see how well it works. But it's a better built defense than what Patricia had going on. If it wasn't for Patricia, Campbell wouldn't be here. That is a great point, but we also might have been good 4 years ago if it wasn't for Patricia, right? Not even as like a Jim Caldwell thing. But if the Lions had hired the right guy 4 years ago, I'm not sure who else was in that class. Maybe we'll take a look. When was Patricia hired? Like 2018? NFL coaching hires? It was. Okay, so was there anybody better than Matt Patricia? Because I don't really remember. And where's the halftime? So we're just messing around. Josh McDaniels for the Colts didn't even end up going there. He's with the Raiders now, and he's not very good. I don't like any Patriots guys. Matt Patricia, bad grade right away. John Gruden didn't work out. Let's see. Steve Wilkes didn't work out for Arizona. This is a poor coaching draft. Matt Nagy didn't work out. And you have Pat Shurmur, who didn't work out. Mike Vrabel, I think, definitely worked out. So, we could have had Mike Vrabel, who was pretty good, right? He took the Titans to the AFC Championship game, has won them a couple playoff games. Like, he's real good. Kind of is like Dan Campbell in a lot of ways. Not saying I would prefer him over Campbell. I absolutely wouldn't. I don't think there's a coach in the NFL, not named Andy Reid, that I would trade Dan Campbell for. I think Dan Campbell, not that I think Dan Campbell is a top 2 coach in the NFC or in the NFL. I just wouldn't give him up for anything. Right? Coaching hire process. Yeah, Campbell has a great coaching hire process. He's hired a lot of great assistants. He's brought in a lot of good coordinators. He brought in Ben Johnson. He didn't bring in Hank Fairley, but made the smart decision to keep Hank Fairley around. Right? He brought in Antoine Randall, who's been really good with Amon-Ra. He brought in Kelvin Shepard, who's going to take over as defensive coordinator probably when Aaron Glenn leaves. He brought in Aaron Glenn, who might be a head coach one day. Dave Fitt, the special teams coordinator, is kind of in his bag this preseason. Real good, right? He made a quick decision with Aubrey Pleasant last year. It was like, hey, we're not getting it done. We need something to change. There's a lot of great hires. All the coaches that got hired that year. Oh. I see. I'll finish my thought and I'll talk about yours. Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell was a great draft pick. Dan Campbell was a great hire. He was exactly what the city needed. He was the perfect personality. He made a lot of smart hires, a lot of smart decisions. I think Dan Campbell knows what he's capable of. He knows what he's not capable of. He's willing to admit that, hey, I'm not the best at everything, which is the best sign of a head coach, in my opinion, right? If your head coach ever is like, I'm right all the time and I could never be wrong and I have nothing to learn and I'm the best, that's not a good head coach, right? Anybody that's willing to learn, anybody that's willing to be like, hey, I could be wrong, but you know, I have room to learn, but I think I'm pretty good at this thing. That's a good head coach. Anybody like Matt Patricia who's like, it's my way or the highway, I can't possibly be wrong because I'm a rocket scientist. That guy was never going to work. He's never going to work in the NFL. He's never going to work anywhere coaching because you can't be good if you already think you're perfect. Let's talk about the Dan Campbell era. The 2020, I believe, NFL coaching hires was the Dan Campbell year. Yeah. Okay. Let's see how it worked out. Joe Judge wasn't great. Is no longer with the New York Giants. However, it all worked out in the end for the Giants because now they have Brian Daboll, who is amazing. Mike McCarthy is currently still there for Dallas. I think was a safe hire, but maybe not the best hire, right? You could have got somebody better. Could have got somebody a little younger. Could have got somebody better than Mike McCarthy, but it was the safe option. It wasn't a bad option. Matt Rule's in Nebraska now. Ron Rivera's on the hot seat. Kevin Stefanski, I think Kevin Stefanski is a good head coach. I really do. I think Kevin Stefanski is a solid guy. Am I a year too early? I am a year too early. Why did that show? See, I typed in 2020, and it says that. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah. Because this was the Brandon Staley. Yeah. Okay. I got some more coaching insight. Brandon Staley. I don't think Brandon Staley worked. Like, I know he's still there. I know he's taking the Chargers to the playoffs. I think that team is winning in spite of Brandon Staley and not winning because of Brandon Staley. And, I don't think he's going to be there much longer. Like, anything short of, I think, probably the AFC Championship game, they're going to get rid of him because he's not winning them football games. He's not losing them football games, which is not the same thing. And it's just not – I don't think he's the best fit there. Urban Meyer was an amazing, phenomenal, just peak success for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I say that with the utmost sarcasm. And I'm allowed to say that because I thought Urban Meyer was going to be a good head coach. This is one of the ones that I certainly missed on. Again, it was kind of an Urban Meyer situation, kind of a Matt Patricia situation, right? I'm right. This is how we're running it. Well, I won national championships at Ohio State and Florida. I'm a winner. I kind of came in doing that and, ended up, doing some crazy things off the field, not finding a lot of success on the field. Urban Meyer had more W's at that bar in Cincinnati than he did on the field for Jacksonville, and just kind of didn't work at the NFL level. And I'm gonna say I was one of those people that was like, damn, Urban Meyer, kind of that guy. It's not that guy in the NFL. Nick Sirianni, I was very low on Nick Sirianni as well. I didn't think he was very good at the press conference. I didn't think the Eagles looked very good to start the season. I don't know how good of a head coach that he is. I think he's incredibly immature at sometimes in some points. I think, if you're ever in the Super Bowl and your quarterback has to, cover up your laugh because a play got called back or whatever the case was, I think that's very immature. I think Nick Sirianni is kind of childish. But as far as the ability to coach a football team and get a football team to a championship game, I think Nick Sirianni is actually pretty good. I was wrong on Nick Sirianni. I didn't think he was going to be great. He turned out to be really good. A little immature, I think so. But as far as the ability to coach in a vacuum, on point for them. Dan Campbell, I think we know how good Dan Campbell is. If he's not the best coach from this class, I think he's the second best coach from this class. I think Nick Sirianni has a good argument for it. But I think Dan Campbell has probably the right to that second place slot, right? He, I think, is the second best coach from this kind of crop, from this round of coaches. He's really good. He was exactly what the Lions needed, brought the media to Detroit, brought the headlines to Detroit. Him and Dan Campbell were, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes were the right choices. They weren't necessarily the flashy choices, but they were the right choices. And it was exactly what the Lions needed. They needed to start over. They needed to build from the ground up. They needed a guy with identity. They needed a guy that could bring the media to Detroit, not a boring guy on the stand, but somebody that's going to go out on national television for his first time as a head coach and be like, we're going to go bite people's kneecaps. Right? Yeah, that was a goofy thing to say. Yeah, he even admitted, he's like, that was probably not the right thing to say in my opening press conference to the Detroit Lions fans, but it brought media to Detroit, right? It brought press to Detroit. It brought a following to Detroit, and it brought any publicity is good publicity. Yeah, it brought memes. Yeah, it brought a lot of people talking bad about the Lions and how crazy they were to hire this guy. But you know what they did? It started people talking about the Detroit Lions. And that's what the Lions needed. They went from a boring, bad franchise to an exciting bad franchise to an exciting mediocre to good franchise to now an exciting, hopefully really good franchise. And that doesn't happen, I don't think, without Dan Campbell. Arthur Smith, I'm not sold on Arthur Smith. He's a very unique way of building the Atlanta Falcons and somehow has a lot of weapons and doesn't use them very well. Right? I don't know how you spend a fourth overall pick on Kyle Pitts and underutilize him. I don't know how you spend a fifth overall pick on Drake London and underutilize him. Hopefully, they didn't just spend the eighth overall pick on Bijan Robinson to underutilize him. I think that they've built a strong team. I just don't know if Arthur Smith is the guy to get them to where they want to go. I think a different head coach might be better for them. I think Sean Payton would absolutely cook with the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know. Arthur Smith is still TBD. Not bad, but not, I don't think great. David Culley was fired in 1 year for Lovie Smith, who was fired in 1 year. Bad coaching hire. It was kind of a, you knew when he was hired, he was a placeholder. It wasn't going to work out. Robert Saleh, I think a good head coach. I don't think he's proved as much as Dan Campbell has quite yet. But I think he's good. We'll see how good the Jets offense is this year. The Jets defense is great, and that's what they brought him there to do. I think he's done exactly what they wanted him to do defensively. It just worries me whether or not he can bring the offense to be great. Even with Aaron Rodgers, I'm not totally sure if that offense is built to last and if it's built to be sustainable for a long time. What's crazy is Sirianni and Campbell were definitely not flashy hires. I kind of wanted Saleh. Glad he got Campbell. I wouldn't be mad at Robert Saleh. I think Robert Saleh and Brad Holmes would have been really good together. I think they would have built from the defensive early. They probably still would have drafted Penei Sewell. They probably still would have drafted Aiden Hutchinson, assuming they won 3 games in 2021. I think Brad Holmes builds the team the same way early. And I think maybe Robert Saleh is able to get some more out of the defense early. But I don't know. I'm happy with what Campbell has done. I think Campbell's a better head coach right now. But by no means do I think Saleh was a bad pick. Right? I think Robert Saleh was solid. Yeah, a lot of people wanted Ed Dodds. I do remember that. I was sold on Ed Dodds. Obviously, he hasn't been a GM anywhere else, to my knowledge. So it's hard to say whether or not he would have been good or not. What I can say is that the Detroit Lions got the best GM. Like actually, they got the best general manager possible. I think there's a better general manager out there probably because like Howie Roseman is amazing, but I don't think you can name 10 general managers better than Brad Holmes right now. At least over the last 3 years, that's better than Brad Holmes. because, obviously free agency wasn't big until this year, and that's still TBD. But as far as like drafting and personnel decisions, right? You have, Penei Sewell, who was a hit. You have Levi Onwuzurike, who's dominating people right now in the preseason and could potentially very easily be a hit. You have Aleem McNeil, who was a hit. You have Derek Barnes, who's a starting linebacker. That's a hit. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's definitely a hit. You have Ifeatu Melifonwu, probably a miss, right? Not great, but that your first miss and your only miss is at 101. It's pretty good. And then Jamar Jefferson, who's not great, but has been kind of a depth running back for a while, right? One miss, was it like 4 hits, 5 hits, and a mad pick? Pretty good for your first draft. Second draft, Aiden Hutchinson, hit. Jameson Williams, TBD, but showed some good flashes early, but I'll leave it at TBD. Second round, Josh Pascal, not great. I think it's probably a miss right now. After Josh Pascal was, who was the third round pick? Oh, Kirby Joseph, which is a hit for sure. And then after Kirby Joseph was James Mitchell, who I think for what he is was pretty good last year for what he was. James Houston was a hit. Malcolm Rodriguez was a hit. Chase Lucas was a special teams player, was a practice squad guy in the 7th round, pretty solid. And then obviously this year, right? Everybody hated on him, but Jahmyr Gibbs looks like a hit. You have Jack Campbell who's looking like a hit. You have Laporta who's looking like a hit. You have Brian Branch who looks like a hit. You have Broderick Martin who's solid. You have Broderick Martin was selected in the 3rd round. Then you have Colby Sorsdale who's playing good in the preseason. And then obviously you have Antoine Green, who right now has 2 receptions for 85 yards and a touchdown in the preseason game. He's not giving out any massive contracts. We have a ton of cap space. We've had a ton of capital to work with. And he's I dare you to name 5 general managers over the last 3 years only that has done a better job than Brad Holmes has done. And I don't think you can name very many. The Lions are back on offense with a 20-10 lead. Teddy Bridgewater with the throw incomplete to Chase Cota. Bringing up 2nd and 5 probably for the Detroit Lions. Oh, I'm just kidding. That's Nate Sudfeld. So ideally here, Nate Sudfeld plays a quarter, and then Adrian Martinez gets the 4th quarter. That's what I want to see. Teddy Bridgewater was fine. 13-22, 178 yards, a touchdown. Perfectly happy. Craig Reynolds is probably done. Teddy Bridgewater's probably done. No, all the wide receivers are still out there. Rollout for Sudfeld. He goes deep and very much overthrows Chase Cota. Hawks GM has been pretty good. He has been very good. Hawks GM was solid. Antoine Green with another big reception. The Hawks has been good. I think Howard Roseman has done a very good job, obviously. But like I said, I don't know if you can name 5. The Hawks have been good the last 2 years, especially. Last year, they hit on so many picks. It was hard to argue that they were maybe the best in the draft. This year, I think Njigba was great. I think that Witherspoon was a great pick. Their 1st round was incredible. I would have taken that 1st round all day, any day for any team. Back shoulder, good pick up there by Antoine Green. Way to fight back to the ball. I think based on where the teams were, I think Brad Holmes has done a better job. But I don't think so. The Jets had a great draft last year. But outside of last year's draft, what did they do a couple years ago? I think they have Elijah Vera Tucker, who's fine. They whiffed hard on the 2nd overall pick, which is not good. And I don't know the Jets as in-depth as the Detroit Lions, but I do know that they missed in 2020 on their 1st round selection, which isn't great. I know last year was great. They were really good on defense. I think they made a solid coaching hire. But I think Brad Holmes has added more talent than the Jets have, than over the Jets GMs. I think he's added more talent. Notice the Rams get significantly worse at drafting when Holmes left. That is true. That is a good point. I think Brandon Smith just made that tackle. I really like Brandon Smith. I liked him at Penn State. I thought he was a crazy athlete. Daniel Helm is not making the roster. I'm sorry. He's just not. Like, that's a good ball by Nate Sudfeld. Like, yeah, he overthrew the big one. That ball right there, that's a good 3 to 4 yard catch for Helm. And you just can't do that. You can't drop passes, right? Nate Sudfeld should be 3 for 5 right now for 20 yards. As much as we as much as we talk about Nate Sudfeld's shortcomings sometimes, we want our quarterback to be supported. That is a good pass rush rep by Connor Galvin right there, I will say. Connor Galvin's impressive. Connor Galvin might make this roster for sure. He's like a 6'7" offensive tackle. That dude's pretty good. Nate Sudfeld is injured. Ooh, that's not good. It is 4th and 13. Nate Sudfeld is hobbling after being hit on the sidelines. That's not great. Yeah, that's a low hit. That's not a dirty hit, but that's pretty bad. I don't love that for them. Nate Sudfeld is currently being checked on by some trainers. He's hobbling. Teddy Bridgewater is definitely done. I don't think they're going to throw Teddy back in. He's walking. We're going to find out. We're going to see what happens. Obviously, even if we don't love Nate Sudfeld, we don't want Nate Sudfeld to get hurt. We don't want anybody to get hurt. Not on our team, not on anybody's team. That's just not something that we can root for. Injuries suck, man. Injuries ruin careers, and obviously we don't want to see that. As much as, a lot of people don't want Nate Sudfeld to be here, we also don't want him to get injured, right? We don't want his career to be over because of an ankle injury suffered in the preseason. This is exactly why the starters didn't play. Nobody got hurt in the first half, which was good. Hopefully nothing happens. Lions got significantly better. The Rams got significantly worse after Holmes' departure. Yeah, that's because Brad Holmes is amazing. That's because Brad Holmes is phenomenal. We love Brad Holmes, and Brad Holmes is the savior the Detroit Lions needed, basically, is what he was. So obviously, like I said, I really hope that Nate Sudfeld's okay. He looked to be walking off under his own power, but with a big BUT, I do want to see Adrian Martinez play. And this might be our chance to get Adrian Martinez on a play. It might be 1, it might be 2. We're going to punt the ball right here and find out what happens after. But if if Nate Sudfeld can't go, put him on IR. Let Adrian Martinez stay as the third quarterback. Everybody makes the roster. Everybody's happy. I'm just saying. But obviously, Nate Sudfeld actually looked pretty good. I know he's only like 2 for 5 for 20 yards or whatever, but he made a good decision, right? He made a good out route, or made a good throw to the outside. He hit Antoine Green on kind of that back shoulder. He hit Daniel Helm in the hands for not a first down, but it would have been like a 4-yard pickup, which would have been helpful. He's playing not bad at all. Hitting 3 times the draft isn't normal. Most teams get lucky to hit 1 or 2. Yeah, Brett Holmes right now is hitting about 3 to 5, which is crazy. Like, no joke. Because what? He hit on Penny. He hit on Alim. He hit on, I'd say he hit on Derek Barnes because he's a starting linebacker. He hit on Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's 4. And if Levi hits this year, that's 5. Second draft, obviously Hutch isn't a hit. Obviously Kirby's a hit. Malcolm's a hit. And so is James Houston. That's 4. Again, if Pascal and Jameson work out, that's 5 and 6. And then this year, he's already looking like he's got 4, if not 5 or 6, right? He's averaging 4 hits a draft, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. Because like you said, most teams average about 1, maybe 2, and sometimes they get lucky with 3, right? What the Jets did with Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner isn't normal, right? What the Seahawks did with Charles Cross was really good, and then Tariq Woolen was really good. Like, that's 2 hits. What they did was not normal, right? But they did that once. Brad Holmes has consistently done that for 3 years in a row, where he's like fully turned over this roster, and that's just incredible. Matt Corral's in the game. So Teddy Bridgewater, who's on the Lions, is obviously not playing anymore. What I meant to say was Andy Dalton is not playing anymore. I liked Matt Corral coming out of Ole Miss. I like a lot of players coming out of college. Nate Sudfeld is currently being carted back to the locker room. which isn't a great sign. But like I said, he was walking under his own power, which is good to see. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Or like, yeah, the 2017 Saints. So I think the 27. I hope that's not Broderick. That's not Broderick. I hope Isaiah Buggs is okay. Isaiah Buggs just made a tackle, kind of landed funny. I hope he's okay. I think we're going to go to a commercial break. Yeah, no. So the 2017 Saints class actually didn't have a miss in the entire class. This is insane. I think this is the greatest draft class ever of NFL history, right? The 2017 Saints draft was incredible, right? Here you go. You this is wild, bro. You have Marshawn Lattimore, who became a Pro Bowl cornerback, 4-time All-Pro cornerback. You got Ryan Ramczyk, who became a one-time All-Pro tackle. You have Marcus Williams, who, never made the Pro Bowl, but was very good as a starter for a long time. You have Alvin Kamara, who went to 5 Pro Bowls. You have Alex Anzalone, who has never been to a Pro Bowl, but is a starting linebacker with the Lions now. We know how good Alex Anzalone is, and of course was pretty good for them as a 3rd-round pick. You have Trey Hendrickson, who is a 2-time Pro Bowler. And then you have, Quidin Muhammad, who, didn't end up working out. So I guess if you want to say that 6th-round hit that 6th-round guy was a miss, sure, but he's played 84 games for the Saints. So, or 84 games for somebody. So they went, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They had 7 people who have all played 70-plus games in the NFL. None of them missed. That is incredible to me. Like, that, not only is that like a good draft, that is like a 100% hit kind of draft. And that is just not normal, man. That's just crazy. That's wild. Meanwhile, in 2017, the Detroit Lions, I don't think the Detroit Lions had a hit, dude. Jared Davis was always good and I thought underutilized. Cheese Tabor was awful. Kenny Galladay was good for a couple of years, as was Jalen Hurts-Maben. Michael Roberts did not make it. Jamal Agnew actually became an All-Pro, which was pretty cool. Jeremiah Ledbetter is, funnily enough, I think we just saw him on the Cardinals depth chart. And then Brad Kaya, we all thought was going to be pretty good out of Miami. Didn't turn out to be. And then I could not tell you who Pat O'Connor is. So, we got probably an A. I'd say an A for Jamal Agnew, an All-Pro punt returner in the 5th round is pretty good. I'd say like a B for Kenny Galladay, like a C- for Jared Davis, like a C for Jalen, and an F for literally everybody else. So yeah, the Saints got like 3 All-Pros and like 6 Pro Bowlers, and we got Jamal Agnew, which was cool. Like, man, it's just not fair. The Bob Quinn era was something else, man. I'm so happy to be in the Brad Holmes era, man. It's so nice. It's so good. All right, 1st and 10. We got Matt Corral at quarterback right now. Looks like Gilmore's at the bottom. Looks like Dorsey. Oh, Brady Breeze got him. Oh, just kidding. Matt Corral spun out of it and threw a good pass, but it was broken up by Stephen Gilmore. Good pass breakup on Javon Wims. Should have had him for a sack, but they didn't. That's okay. Galladay was good for a minute. Now he sucks. Galladay was very good for about 3 seasons. His rookie, 4 seasons. He was good as a rookie. He was hurt as a sophomore. And then his 3rd and 4th year with the Lions, he was a 1,000-yard receiver. He was a dog for real. And then he got the bag to go to New York and immediately just like regressed, right? Kenny Galladay, it was crazy. Another PBU by Stephen Gilmore. What a good performance by the DBs right now. When Kenny was drafted, a lot of people said he was like a 5th round pick, 6th, 7th round selection, not a guy you should take in the 3rd. outperformed that draft stock astronomically for like 3 years. And then he went to New York, and all of a sudden, he pretty much became the 7th-round pick out of NIU that everybody else thought he was supposed to be. I can make an argument that the 2022 Lions draft class is on par with that Saints class. I wouldn't, considering Jameson Williams hasn't done. Oh, there you go, James Houston with another pressure. Considering that Jameson Williams hasn't played a whole lot yet, considering that Josh Pascal is not a starter yet, considering that that's really it. That's about it. Considering you've not missed, but it's too early for 2 of your top 3 picks, I would not make that argument yet. However, if Jameson Williams and Josh Pascal both turn into starters / rotational guys, impact players, yeah, for sure. I agree. It could be, but it's not yet. It's definitely not yet. Right? You need an all-pro. You need a couple Pro Bowlers out of that class before you can say it's better, because that Saints class is wild. That Saints class is crazy. Also, Starling Thomas almost took that football right to the head. I'm real lucky he didn't touch that. He didn't, I don't think. But man, that could have been bad. Oh, he definitely didn't touch it. He definitely didn't touch it. But, Adrian Martinez is in the game, yes, sir. Sorry to Nate Sudfeld, but I like my boy Adrian. Homes need to be talked about. EOTY. I'm blanking on what the E word is. I know what it is. Why can't I think of the word that starts with E? Front office of the year. Executive of the year. Yeah, for sure. Good read option. Yes, he does. I completely agree with that statement. Okay. Adrian Martinez is on the field. UDFA from Kansas State. Spent 2018 to 2021 with Nebraska. Yeah, it just took me a second. It's 10 o'clock. I had classes all week. I'm, working on it, but, I'm still getting back into the schedule. So if my brain is a little fried today, that is probably why. Accounting is a tough class. Let us see. Colby Sorsdale, I think, is playing right tackle with Connor Galvin as the left tackle. Yeah, Colby Sorsdale is the right tackle right now. Good 2-yard rush by Zigbo. Devon, Devin. I don't know. One of them. One of the D names. I think it's Divine Ozigbo. That sounds cooler. Good 2-yard rush from him. But yeah, I think if the Lions go to the playoffs, if they win a playoff game, if they host playoff games, I think Brett Holmes is talked about as executive of the year. Maybe if there was I don't know. I feel like executive of the year is weird because it's you could have drafted a bunch of guys a couple years ago and they're finally starting to get to a spot. It's I feel like executive of the year should be more like executive of the last half decade. Right? Because you can obviously, your executive makes a big difference every year. You can drastically improve a team. You can obviously win the draft any given year, but Brett Holmes this single year didn't fix the Detroit Lions, right? It's not like they went from 3-14 to what they are now. It was a 3-year process. You know what I mean? So it should be GM of the last 3 years, or give executive of the year 3 years down the line when you know what their draft classes look like fully. You know what I'm saying? Good catch there. I believe that's Maurice Alexander. Good pickup. Adrian Martinez is dealing. I can tell you. Adrian Martinez about to cook the Panthers defense right up. It is crazy. Who wants Panther for dinner? Because that's what Adrian Martinez is cooking. 2nd and 6, 8:06 on the clock. Good for the Detroit Lions. I'm not impressed with the running backs outside of Reynolds. Oh, Adrian, just go, just take it, run, or dime to the sidelines. Hold on. Oh, except for a Divine Azigbo can't catch. That looked like a catch to me. Hold on. No, Adrian Martinez. He should just ran. Oh, I think his foot was out of bounds. Oh no, just kidding. Ozigbo. Yeah. All right, Adrian could have played it a little higher for him, but I don't know who just spammed the chat, but like, please don't do that. Oh, Adrian, roll out. Yes, sir. Just take it. You're fine. Back to the line of scrimmage. That's fine. That's all right. Taking care of the cap, finding very good free agents, and drafting really well. You should be in that conversation. No, I'm not saying Brad Holmes shouldn't be. I'm just saying, like, there might be a draft that was better than the Lions this year on paper, or like there might be another executive that took his team from, like, I'm trying to think of a good example, like the Bears. Like, I think Ryan Pace or Ryan Poles. I think it's Ryan Poles now. Ryan Poles did a very, very good job this offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears general manager won executive of the year, because he traded the first round pick. He got a lot of picks in return. He got DJ Moore. He drafted a good player. He signed a lot of good players on defense. Like, I think the Bears are going to be pretty good this year. Excuse me. And I do think that taking them from like 3-14 to like 9-8 is executive of the year worthy, more so than like 9-8 to like 11-6. You know what I mean? So, but if you go back 2 years of what the Lions were to what they are, Brad Holmes is a better general manager. He's been a top general manager for 3 straight years. But there's some competition for it. But he's certainly in the running, if nothing else. Who's winning the division? Obviously, I want to say the Lions. Here's my thoughts on the division. And I've given my thoughts before, and I'll give them again before the season starts. I think the Lions are the most complete team in the division, right? I don't think you can point to the Detroit Lions and be like, that position is bad, right? I really don't think that's possible, right? Because QB is good, running back's good, wide receiver's good, even fullback is solid. Like, tight end is a good position, offensive line's an elite position, defensive line is a super good position, secondary is much improved, safety position's an elite position for the Lions, linebacker's pretty good, special teams is phenomenal, right? You have probably 2 all-pro level players on your special teams with Raymond and Jack Fox. Like, I don't think you could point to the Lions and be like, there's a weakness on that roster. Whereas, like, you could point to the Bears and be like, well, there's still a lot of offensive line questions. There's a really poor defensive line right there for the Bears to run on. You look at the Packers, right? QB controversy, not controversy, but QB concerns, certainly. I think weapon concerns for sure, not knowing if, do you want to rely on Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs? Probably not, right? A lot of young guys to rely on. A lot of offensive questions with the Packers. And you go to the Vikings, it's like, well, they were the worst passing defense in football last year, and they didn't get any better, right? You replaced Patrick Peterson with Byron Murphy, and that's not going to help you get better. It's just, I think the Lions are the most complete team, which is why I think that they will win, or they will win the division. They're the best team in the division. But I think I think that the Vikings still have a good roster. I think they still have a really good offense, and I think that their new defensive coordinator is going to help them a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be able to do a whole lot with the talent, but I do think the scheme will be better. But I think the Bears are a sneaky team to win the division. I really do. I don't see the Packers doing it. I think there's too many questions at quarterback. But I'm a believer in Justin Fields. I'm a believer in the Bears offense because I think that run game is going to be really, really good. I don't love their wide receiving core. It's not like a top 15 option like they've been saying, right? DJ Moore does not take it from the worst group in the NFL to a top 10 group in the NFL, but I do think it's at least an average group. It's somewhere around that like 15, 20, because like, I don't think Chase Claypool is great, but I think he's okay. I don't think that like Darnell Mooney is elite, but I think he's solid, right? I think he's a slightly better receiving version of Khalif Raymond. I think Cole Kmet's a top 10 tight end in the NFL, top 11 maybe, if you want to be really picky about it. Good defense there by Chase Lucas. I like Darnell Wright. I think Darnell Wright's very good. So I think the Bears can be a sneaky team to win the division. I think your safest bet is the Detroit Lions. And if you really want like a wild card bet, probably the Bears. I think it's going to be the Lions or the Bears, really. The Vikings obviously have a chance for sure, but I think the Lions and Bears are more complete. But I think everybody – I think the Lions will be at 11. I think the Bears will be at like 8 or 9. I think the Vikings will be at 8 or 9. I think the Packers will be at like 6. One of the deepest Lions team we've had in a while. We're flooded with talent. Yeah, we are. Until it comes to containing the quarterback, in which case we don't do that. Khalil Dorsey just hit a guy in the knees again. Good thing Matt Corral's okay. Khalil Dorsey took the biting kneecaps quote a little too seriously. Would you take our wide receiver core over theirs? I would. I don't think there's any. I think DJ Moore would be the number one boundary receiver on this team. I think it's really hard to compare him and Amon-Ra St. Brown since they play very different positions. I think Amon-Ra is probably a better wide receiver. But I also think DJ Moore would start on the lines. It's not like, it's not like DJ Moore is bad. DJ Moore is like probably a top 20 wide receiver. I just think Amon-Ra is closer to top 15. Like it's very close. Would I take I'll exclude Jameson Williams for now because he's not playing. So I'll go with like week 1 wide receiver rooms. Would I take who's our wide receiver 2 probably? Probably Josh Reynolds or Marvin Jones over Chase Claypool? Yes. Would I take Khalif Raymond over Darnell Mooney? Probably not as purely a wide receiver. As a playmaker, as a kick returner, yes. But as far as just being a wide receiver, probably Darnell Mooney. So I think they have a better wide receiver 3, but I'll take Amon-Ra over DJ. I'll take Marvin over Chase Claypool, but I'll probably take Mooney over Raymond for now. And then Tyler Scott is not a better wide receiver than Josh Reynolds, our wide receiver 4. He might be faster, might be kind of a bigger play guy. Is not a better wide receiver though, so that's our wide receiver 4 is better. If you want to go to 5, I don't know who the Bears' 5th wide receiver play. Equanimeous St. Brown, who, yeah, I guess you'll take him over like Antoine Green. I don't know. I think the Lions could use another wide receiver, but realistically, good play by Broderick Martin. But like realistically, what are the odds that you're playing Antoine Green, right? What's the odds that you're on your wide receiver 6 this year as like a primary target, other than like for a very specific role? You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine Antoine Green or Chase Cota getting, like, significant snaps unless something really, really bad happens. As far as tight end, I'll take Cole Kmet over Sam Laporta right now. I think that could change for the season, but right now Cole Kmet's a very good tight end. You could do a lot worse at tight end than Cole Kmet. I think he's kind of one of the sneaky, underrated tight ends in the NFL. But that does not change the fact that I would take the wide receivers of the Detroit Lions and the receiving core in general over the Bears every single day. I would love DJ Moore, but I don't think he's as good. Running backs, the problem is I really, really like Roschon Johnson. And I think Roschon Johnson could be better than David Montgomery. Like, actually, like, I feel like that's kind of a crazy thing to say, but also not a crazy thing to say. I think Roschon Johnson will be very good. I like Khalil Herbert as like an RB2. I think I take it over because I like our receiving ability from the backfield. I like Gibbs better than I do any of the Bears running backs. But as far as like purely rushing ability, I would probably give it to the Bears. You're taking Amon-Ra over DJ Moore. Yeah, absolutely. Amon-Ra top 10. I think arguably for sure. like he's definitely top 15. I think you have an argument for him to be top 10. I'm taking our running backs over theirs and our O-line. Obviously, our O-line. I'm taking Fields until Fields proves it otherwise. For sure. For sure. But if you're talking like in the division, right? I put Justin Fields as QB3 out of 4. I put the Bears running game probably number 1, right? The Bears rushing attack is probably the best in the division. I put the Bears weapons at 3 because they're not as good as the Vikings. I don't think they're as good as the Lions, but they're close with the Lions. Offensive line, probably 4, right? Lions are 1. The Packers still have a really good offensive line, and the Minnesota Vikings still have a really good exterior of their line. So I think the Bears have the most questions on that. So it's like, 3, 1, 3. But the best rushing attack in football could really, really help you. As far as defensive line, they're 4. Linebacker, they're probably 1 at linebacker. They're probably the best linebacking core in the NFL. Maybe even the NFL, not the NFC. I think, you're talking about secondary. The secondary is really young. Probably cornerbacks, probably 2 behind the Lions. Maybe 3 behind the Lions and Packers. And then safety, they're 2. They're only behind the line. So their defense is like second probably in the NFC, and their offense is probably 3rd. That's going to compete for probably 2nd place in the division, if not even 1st on a down year, because I don't think they're that – wow, what a push. I don't think they're that far. I'll take the Bears linebackers over the Lions. I would too. And it's not because I don't like the Lions linebackers. And I think pound for pound, dollar for dollar, I'll take the Lions. But we're talking like purely talent. I would take the Bears over the Lions. Right? Tremaine Edmonds is super talented. The guy they got from the Eagles, whose name is escaping me at the moment. What was his name? They signed a linebacker from the Eagles who started on the Super Bowl team. He's really good. They just got Malik Walker from the Falcons, who's really good. Jack Sanborn was a really good rookie linebacker from the last year. I like not Penei Sewell, but Noah Sewell from Oregon. Their linebacking core is really good. Like I said, dollar for dollar, like if you're talking cap space included, like best value, Lions have the best value linebackers. But if we're talking like pure talent, it's the Bears. As biased as I want to be, it's the Bears for sure. It's definitely the Bears at linebacker. So the Panthers score. They strike back, making it 17-20. Matthew Wright kicks it through the uprights, making it a 1-score game for the Lions. I'm not sure if Adrian Martinez is going to be back. I haven't seen anything about him quite yet, but we'll see. First losing season since 2018. That's crazy. Bears had 14 losses, the most in franchise history, while their quarterback led them in rushing. That's pretty embarrassing. Lions went 5-1 in the division because they're just like that. I don't know. We'll see, man. We will see how the Lions do. I think they're going to be pretty good. They do have a tough schedule, which is a little concerning, but I don't know. I think we need to look at the schedule and see how many running quarterbacks we play and be realistic. We still can't contain. Really hope I'm wrong. I think it's more of like a preseason thing, right? There's no plan to contain the quarterback. It's like go after the quarterback. You know what I mean? But you're not going to set up a QB spy in the preseason. So I think that's probably part of it. Plus, the Lions are playing a lot of man, which doesn't leave you a lot of room to get after the quarterback. But we'll see. I'm taking the Lions secondary over the Bears, mostly because of the safeties. Although the Bears have some really good safeties. As far as rushing quarterbacks go, let me see. Lions 2023 schedule. Not because I don't know it off the top of my head, but because it'll be easier to explain it this way. I don't like that. I want something with logos, something that I can look at, some good graphic for me. It should. Why is it this hard? What? Come on. What is? Well, that's because we're not looking for 2923. We're looking for 2023, obviously. So, okay, we'll just click on the picture, I guess. Guys, we'll just scroll through. That's fine. All right, week 1 versus the Chiefs. Would I consider Patrick Mahomes a mobile quarterback? Yes. I am concerned about Patrick Mahomes rolling out, scrambling, making plays on the run. That is one. Geno Smith, yes, a mobile quarterback, a quarterback that can move outside the pocket and make throws. Yes, I am a little worried about him. Hello? We got the quick fix that time. Baker Mayfield, I wouldn't really consider a. Oh, come on, Adrian. Make a play, Adrian. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First down. That was an awkward slide, but he got there. Baker Mayfield, I wouldn't consider a dangerous rusher. Lamar Jackson, I would consider a dangerous rusher. Jimmy Garoppolo, not so much. Bye week, not so much. Justin Herbert, probably I would say mobile, but not like crazy mobile. Like I consider mobile like your ability to you can pick up a first down with your legs, or you're dangerous with your legs, not so much like a run first. Bears obviously have a mobile quarterback. Packers have one. I would consider Derek Carr mobile. Same with the Bears. Same with Russ. No. I'm not Kirk. Kirk's not mobile, but Dak is, and then obviously Kirk again. So realistically, right, you're playing two, 3, 4 games against a quarterback that's not mobile. But 90% of the quarterbacks in the NFL today are mobile. Right? There aren't very many statues. But mobile doesn't necessarily mean run first. It means the ability to run, the ability to be dangerous with your legs. Right? I wouldn't consider Geno Smith a run first quarterback, but I would consider him a mobile quarterback. Right? I wouldn't consider Patrick Mahomes a not necessarily a run first quarterback, obviously, but he's a mobile quarterback. Same thing with Josh Allen. Josh Allen is not a run first quarterback, but Josh Allen can certainly run the football. You taking Campbell or Campbell? Campbell and his staff all day. So we play a quarterback that can run. You chalking it up to a loss? No, because that would be like 4 wins. That'd be like 4 wins for the Lions, and that obviously isn't going to work. Oh, no. Oh, Antoine Green just collided knees with somebody. That's not good. Oh, no. I consider Mahomes. Mahomes is pass first, but Mahomes is dangerous with his legs. If you haven't seen Mahomes run, miss not. He's a good runner. He's a good player that can make plays outside the pocket. Don't we own Kyler Murray, who is mobile? No. No, I don't think we own Kyler Murray. I'm pretty sure Kyler Murray owns us. Kyler Murray has made some plays with his legs for sure against the Detroit Lions in his time. But I'm not too concerned. I'm trying to think back to last year if we played any real mobile quarterbacks. Week 1, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts got out a couple of times, but I didn't think that was like the biggest problem in the game. Carson Wentz wasn't really mobile, and Adrian Martinez just got sacked. Oh, just kidding. He fumbled the ball. And he ran out of bounds. That's, happens. Miscommunication, bad snap by the center. It's fine. And who did we play? We went to the Commanders came here, beat them. And then the third week, we went to Minnesota, and we didn't play a mobile quarterback. And then the fourth week, Kyler Murray is 0-2-1 against us, but Kyler Murray has made quite a few plays against our defense. Let's not pretend like Kyler Murray is the reason that he's lost. Fourth week of the season was a mobile quarterback versus Geno, but I didn't think Geno was too bad with his legs. Week 5 was a bye because week 6 was the Patriots. I wouldn't consider Bailey Zappi necessarily a mobile quarterback. Not that it really mattered. And then you had, of course, week 7 versus the Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa, who I would consider mobile, but probably on the lower end of mobile. Campbell hates mistakes like that. He does. That's true. So we have like Geno as our mobile quarterback. I would consider Tua mobile enough to escape. Justin Fields obviously was one. And then we played Aaron Rodgers, so I wouldn't consider mobile. We played I'm trying to think. We played the Bears, and we played the Packers, and then that might have been the Buffalo game, who Josh Allen is very mobile. And then we lost that game, and then we came back and we beat the I'm blanking on the second half of the season now. I'm not sure. Who did we play after the Buffalo Bills? I know we beat them. And then we maybe beat the Minnesota Vikings next, who did not have a mobile quarterback. And then we went to the Jets, and they did have a mobile quarterback. So that's 5 with Zach Wilson. And then after that was the Bears, who again, yes, had one, so that's 6 games. And then obviously you played Sam Darnold, who's not one. And then you played the Green Bay Packers. So about six games, maybe 7 if I missed one, with, I would say, a mobile quarterback. And there weren't too many times where I was like, we can't stop the quarterback run, right? Outside the preseason and outside of really Jalen Hurts, not really too many quarterbacks that I was concerned about their legs. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is one of those guys. Patrick Mahomes, I'd say, is another one of those guys. But outside of those two, there's not too many quarterbacks where I'm like, we really need in the game plan to contain this guy in the pocket, right? This guy's going to hurt us a lot with his legs, like 6-7 times a game. And that's something we need to game plan for. But, a mobile quarterback is everybody, right? Jared Goff is picking up first downs with, his legs now. Like, is Jared Goff a mobile quarterback? Maybe. I don't know. It's all about your definition of mobile. Start of the fourth quarter. The Lions are up 20-17. Adrian Martinez is the starting quarterback right now, and I do not see Antoine Green in the field. That's got to be a catch from Maurice Alexander. Not a perfect throw, but probably a throw that should have been caught. And that brings up 4th and 11. And I believe the Lions will come off the field. Let's see. Adrian Martinez could have given him a better ball. Oh, the Lions are staying on the field. Just kidding. Delay of game. So Adrian Martinez right now 4 of 6, 33. That's not bad. That's better than Nate Sudfeld. They're trying to draw him off. Hut, and that is the clock. Run first quarterbacks don't age well. They don't, but they are incredibly dangerous. And I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. Kyler Murray's good when he's healthy. He got hurt last year, but before that, he was relatively healthy for the most part. You have touchback, dang, it sucks. You have Lamar Jackson, who's a unanimous MVP, just got a huge, massive contract because he's a very good NFL player. Josh Allen was a run-first quarterback and developed into a pass-first quarterback. Who else is out there? We'll see. We'll obviously see about Anthony Richardson. Unfortunate. We'll obviously see about Anthony Richardson. Jalen Hurts is good. He's a mobile quarterback. Yeah, Lamar got hurt, but when he's playing, he's amazing. And he's played a full season before and been a unanimous MVP. So it's not really fair to say he hasn't aged well because he's the highest paid quarterback in football. He's a very good football player. Yeah, you're going to risk that injury, but, to be fair, Jared Goff's missed time. Matt Stafford missed time when he was here. Like, there was a point in the Patricia era where we were down to like our 4th, 5th string, like 3rd or 4th string quarterback. So it happens with pocket passers too. Like, let's not pretend like pocket passers can't get hurt because Jimmy Garoppolo missed a lot of time this year. Matthew Stafford missed a lot of time this year. Jared Goff missed time 2 years ago. Like, every quarterback is going to miss some time. You know what I mean? So it's not an exclusively mobile quarterback thing. And I really don't think there's a whole lot of merit behind the correlation of mobile quarterback to injury. Like, yeah, on paper, it kind of makes sense. But in reality, it doesn't tend to happen as often or at that big discrepancy that you'd think it would. Based off of, like, the logic of the situation. Good run. Well, almost a good run stop. Number 90. I'm trying to think of his name. Is that Corey Durden? It is Corey Durden, the undrafted free agent from North Carolina. He's been playing pretty good. He's being subbed out right now. Maybe. Communication error. Yeah, he is. But he's been playing pretty good. He's a guy that I don't think will make the roster, but I think we'll make the practice squad. Defense is out there right now is 92, who I don't really know. Covington's an edge rusher with James Houston. I don't really get why James Houston is still out there. Like you're just setting up James Houston to either get hurt or show him off, I guess. Like I don't really know what the deal is. Bad miss by Matt Corral, though. I don't know. Martin shoved that guy right into the backfield, but I don't know. I guess like who else are you gonna play other than James Houston? The Okwara brothers is the answer, and Corey Durden, but I don't know. It seems weird that James Houston's playing this much, despite obviously being good at what he's doing. Ooh, good sneak by Maurice Alexander. It was real slippery for a minute and got through. I don't know. It just seems weird that they're playing James Houston so much, but I get it. He's a great pass rusher. He's a young pass rusher. You want him to play. They only have so many edge rushers on the roster, and who knows if Romeo and Julian's spots are secured or not, or if they know what's going on there. But we will see. So the Lions have the ball. 13:45 left in the game. Lions lead 20-17 in Carolina, something that does not happen very often. I think Julian gets traded before Julian gets cut. I really do. I don't know if it's going to be the Giants. I don't know if it's going to be another team with depth issues. Somebody's going to I don't know if he's going to make the roster, but I think the Lions will get at least some value out of him if he doesn't make the roster, if nothing else. So we will see. Other players that I think could get cut. Romeo could get cut. Obviously you have Hutch, you have Harris, you have Kaminsky, you have Houston, you have Pascal, and the Okwara brothers. That's your 7 edge rushers right now. One of them's probably going to get cut, and it's probably going to be an Okwara. And it's probably going to be Julian. But I think Julian or Romeo will be traded because Romeo has had 10 sacks in the past. He's a good pass rusher. Julian, I think, is a 6-sack guy if he's healthy in the NFL. And despite that not being elite production, that is worth something in the NFL. So we'll see what happens. The Lions are going to have a lot of tough choices. It's going to be really hard to get rid of people because, the D-line, right? You have 7 guys that realistically could rotate and be situational pass rushers or run stoppers in that edge class. And, really, you probably don't want to cut any of them, but you have to cut one, right? On the DBs, how many DBs are you going to keep? Because obviously, Sutton and Mosley and Jerry Jacobs are all staying. Obviously Tracy Walker is staying. Obviously Kirby Joseph is staying. Obviously Brian Branch is staying. So is CJ Gardner-Johnson. That's already 7, right? You got to keep at least 2 more cornerbacks, if not 3. So probably Will Harris, probably Starling Thomas and Stephen Gilmore. That's 10 defensive backs. Then what do, right? Are you keeping 10 defensive backs? Are you gonna cut Brandon Joseph, who's probably going to get signed? Are you going to cut Khalil Dorsey, who you guys clearly like? Are you going to cut Ifeatu Melifonwu, who's going to get picked up off the waiver? The Lions have so many good defensive backs that it's going to be really hard to pick and even harder to stash somebody on the practice squad because the Lions just have talent. They've been showcasing it all offseason, right? You go to the linebacking core. That one's a little bit easier. You're probably going to keep 4, maybe 5. And those 5 are going to be, it's going to be Campbell, it's going to be Anzalone, it's going to be Barnes, it's going to be Rodrigo. And Jalen Reeves-Maybin or Anthony Pittman will probably be your 5th. Good throw there by Adrian Martinez. So that one's a little easier. Your offensive line, you're probably going to keep 9. I would guess you keep the starting 5 plus Taylor, plus Graham Glasgow, which is 6, plus Connor Galvin, plus the starting right tackle from the Cincinnati Bengals, Jermaine Ifedi, which is 8, and then Sorsdale, which is your 9. Probably keeping 9 there. Wide receivers, obviously your top 4 are going to make the roster. Your top 5 are going to make the roster with JMO. Good step up. Come on, get out. Yeah, make a play. It's fine. JMO's making the roster. St. Brown's making the roster. Raymond is making the roster. Jones is making the roster. Reynolds is making the roster. That's 5. You're going to have probably Antoine Green, Chase Cota, or Dylan Drummond make the roster. That's puts you at 6, which is what they carried last year, which means you're going to have to cut 2 really good wide receivers. I think Dylan Drummond and Chase Cota are probably the last 2 that are going to be picked up, but you don't probably want to risk them going into free agency or on the waiver wire because they're talented players, right? You have tight end, probably not as big of a deal. Quarterback, again, not as big of a deal. Running back, not crazy, but there's going to be some tough decisions to be made on the Detroit Lions roster, mainly with their weapons and probably in their secondary and pass rush. There's a lot of good players on this team, and I wouldn't be surprised if at least one player gets traded away, and, we'll see. QB excitement in the Big Apple. What's going on in the Big Apple? Aaron Rodgers is probably the answer, but that's a long time ago. Sean Payton and Russell Wilson crossroads already. Man, that's just – what happened to Russell Wilson, guys? Russell Wilson was a dominant quarterback. He was like borderline a Hall of Fame level quarterback, and now he's just not. I don't know what where the disconnect was. I don't know if it was just Pete Carroll being that good at his job, but man, yeah, Russell Wilson just isn't as good anymore. Right? Like he's not making the plays he used to. He's not the dynamic playmaker he was, and he's just not working in structure. It's not working out of structure. He's just really struggling, and I don't know where it changed. There's just a weird flip. All right, the Detroit Lions send blitz. Chase Lucas got there and tipped it. Good job. Chase Lucas is another DB that can make this roster. I didn't even mention him. Chase Lucas, number 27, has the pick tonight. Like, he could end up making the roster and probably should end up making the roster, even though, like, who are you going to cut? It's going to be a really, really tough decision. I don't know. It's going to be really tough to see. 3rd and 1, the Detroit Lions are in press coverage. They're sending everybody in the box, and can they get him? They cannot. First down, Carolina Panthers with the clock ticking. They can't get him for the first down. They hit him in the backfield. He just fell forward, did a good job. Spencer Brown, good job falling forward. 13 carries, 51 yards, and a touchdown. He's having a good night for himself. Not as good as Craig Reynolds had, but still pretty good. Let's see. What do they have? I didn't get to read the graphic. That's fine. What else? The Broncos got wrecked on that deal. The Broncos got like absolutely fleeced in that deal. Like the craziest thing is, what did they give? They gave like 2 first-round picks. They had like 4 picks in total. That's an unfortunate pass. They have like 4 picks and like 2 starters. And Seattle got better after trading away Russell Wilson. Like, that's just crazy to me. Broncos, on paper, are such a talented team. Who gave this up? Was it Chase? Yeah, it was. Like, on paper, the Broncos are talented. Like Russell Wilson, if you looked at Russell Wilson his first 10 years, you'd be like, that's a good quarterback. And, you'd be like, okay, he had a down year his first year in Denver. But, you look at the wide receiving core, like Cortland Sutton's pretty good. Jerry Judy's pretty good. Cam Hamler. I can't think of his first name. Hamler's pretty good. Like Tim Patrick's really good, even though he's been hurt the last couple of years. Good gap shot by Anthony Pittman. They have good wide receivers. Greg Dulcich is a really good tight end. The offensive line was not great, but Russell Wilson's never had a great offensive line. Like Javonte Williams is a great running back. Their defense was elite last year. Like the Denver Broncos should be a good football team, even despite being in the despite being in the AFC West, despite having to play the Chiefs and the Chargers. Like they should be a good football team. Oh, Corey Durden just got the pressure. Ooh, that might be a flag. He grabbed Matt Corral right by the collar. But yeah, I have no idea how the Broncos are a bad football team. Just kidding. It's holding against Corey Durden. Fantastic. This microphone, guys, I'm gonna have to get a new one. I'm gonna need some donations so I can get a brand new microphone. So this is gonna work. A lot of people pointing the gun at coaching. As far as like the Broncos, yes, but also Sean Payton's a great coach, and the Broncos still don't look good. Like yes, I get it. Wow, James Houston, that was a weird play. But I get it. Yes, Nathaniel Hackett was very poor. He didn't coach very well. But also, Sean Payton, we know, is very good at coaching. And through the first two, at least the first preseason game that I watched at the Denver Broncos, where they literally played their starters into the half, they just weren't good, right? Like, they weren't creating separation. They weren't run blocking. They weren't pass blocking. Like, that's not a coaching thing. That's a talent thing, which is weird because other than the offensive line, the Denver Broncos are a very good team on paper. And it's just, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they get better with Sean Payton. I think they will, but they good breakup by Richardson there. I don't know. It's just a weird phenomenon that the Denver Broncos somehow are stacked and still aren't very good at football. What a beautiful rep by Richardson there. Taking Amani Oruware's 24 and making it look good. That's a good play. That's a great play even. Johnny Hecker, 50-yard punt, returned by Maurice Alexander. Good work. Good work, boys. I'm hoping one of the I hope Starling Thomas gets an interception. Brandon Joseph has one. Stephen Gilmore has one. I don't think Starling Thomas is going to play anymore tonight, but I hope somebody gets an interception. Maybe it's Stephen Gilmore again. Maybe they send Starling Thomas back out there, but I want to see it. I really do. I really, really do. So, 20-17. The 1-1 Detroit Lions are ahead of the 0-2 Carolina Panthers. Lions are looking to seal the preseason division, setting up for a regular season division title, unlike any other. It's just gonna be tough. We can go to the Detroit Lions depth chart real quick while we're on commercial. It's what do you do, right? I don't know why Jamar Jefferson isn't playing tonight. Hopefully he's healthy. If not, he's probably going to get cut. But, Jared Goff is staying. Jared Goff is staying. Teddy Bridgewater is staying. Hendon Hooker is staying, although he won't count for the roster. So who do you keep as your third quarterback? Is it Nate Sudfeld or is it Adrian Martinez who's outplaying Nate Sudfeld? For running back, right? Gibbs is staying, David's staying, Craig is staying. Who's your fourth? Is it Jamar? Is it going to be Benny Snell? Is it going to be Divine Azigbo? Is it going to be somebody you look for after training camp cuts or after preseason cuts? Like, I don't know. Amon Ross staying, Jameson staying, Marvin staying, Josh is staying. It's four. Cleef is staying. Probably Antoine. But then, like, you're going to cut Trinity Benson. You're going to cut maybe Maurice Alexander, although he could stay. Jason Moore hasn't done a whole lot. Neither has Avery Davis. But Drummond and Coda have both, made a case for themselves. So that's going to be a tough one to cut. Laporta staying, Wright staying, Mitchell staying. Daniel Helm is probably the odd guy out. And then, again, on the offensive line, like, yeah, you keep these five, right? Keep Glasgow, keep Affetti, keep not Matt Nelson. Who are we keeping? We're keeping Connor Galvin and Colby Sorsdale, right? So you're cutting, Darren Paulo. You're probably cutting Abini Azee again. You're cutting Alex Millette. Probably Ryan Swoboda, and Max Percher, who I've never seen on the field before. So, tough cuts there because I don't think – I mean, Abini Azee hasn't been great. But, like, Matt Nelson is a longtime player who's been here. Kato Owaska is a guy that's been here for a long time. But I think defense is where it's going to be tough. I really do. Hutchinson staying. He has to. Charles Harris has to stay. John Kaminsky has to stay. Josh Pascal has to stay. So they have the Quarter brothers on the out. On the inside, like, these four guys are safe. Probably Benito Jones, too. Is Coving. Ooh, get out of there, Martinez. That's fine. You're going to probably cut Smith and Durden and maybe Christian Covington, despite I think him playing pretty good. Campbell's safe. Anzalone's safe. Barnes is safe. Houston's safe. Rodriguez is safe. It's down between these two. Secondary is going to be tough, man, because Cam Sutton has to stay. Brian Branch is going to stay. Kirby's going to stay. CJ's going to stay. Jerry's going to stay. Emmanuel's here. So is Tracy Walker. So that leaves you, what, couple guys? That leaves you probably two, maybe one position left. Right? Chase Lucas is making a role for that. Brandon Joseph has a spot. Sterling Thomas and Stephen Gilmore have the opportunity to potentially be that. What's his name? Will Harris isn't even on here. And he's just fighting for a spot. So it's just going to be tough. Plus, Parker Romo versus Riley Patterson's a big one. So many battles and so many, like, genuinely good battles. Usually for Lions training camp, it's like, oh, well, it's like, oh, well, they're camp guys. But not this year. Like, they're all – I genuinely think if the Lions could keep all 90 players, they absolutely would. Okay, Adrian Martinez needs to pick it up a little bit. I've been hyping him up, and now that he's getting playing time, he needs to, get it going. Come on. I really, really want to know what happened to Antoine Green. Because he left the field with a knee injury. But I just don't know what happened. I really, really am unsure of what has happened. And I want to know. I also kind of wish that Teddy was wearing the 50 still, because I think that's hilarious. But so Antoine Green left in the early fourth quarter with a knee injury. Hey, man, how you doing? How you doing? Doug Johnson's Thunder Road Show. How you doing, man? Glad you could be here. I'm really concerned because Antoine Green hasn't come back yet. And I'm just not sure. I'll see if I can. I'll specifically look for Antoine Green. Galvin has had a good night. I agree. Not seeing anything. Deep ball from very poorly thrown football there. Jack Campbell's still on the field, I'm pretty sure. With Jake Luton throwing to him. That's crazy. CJ Gardner-Johnson talks so much trash that he even does it in preseason games he's not playing in. That's so bad. That's kind of funny, except for the fact that Adam Thielen was like hurt. Oh, blitz him, send him, get him, Corey. Good work, Richardson. Good breakup for sure. Man, our secondary is like pretty solid, guys. I'm pretty impressed. Win or lose this game, it's a lot. There's still 6 minutes left. There's a lot of time left to go, but man, it'll be exciting. Bugs looks okay, which is good. Bugs left earlier. I'm like trying to scan the sidelines to see. Is that James Houston getting another sack? Yes, sir. James Houston. Whoever said James Houston wasn't making the roster was not paying attention to 2022. James Houston is an absolute menace. Like, James Houston is just incredible. He just walked Jake Luton back into Smith, and they sacked him together. Like, how can you not like James Houston? How could you think this man was going to get cut? Can we admire how jacked Dan Campbell is? Yes, we can. It's incredible. I do not like Aiden Hutchinson's haircut. Yes, we can absolutely talk about how jacked Dan Campbell is, because if there was like a fight in, off all 32 NFL coaches like at a fight to Fight Club, I think Dan Campbell would win. It'd be like him and Mike Vrabel, and Dan Campbell is crazy. Had a really nice run block on the left outside. Yeah, Galvin's had a really good quiet preseason. How incredible straps. Like, why are we just glazing Dan Campbell? It's so funny. Yes, Dan Campbell is phenomenal. Dan Campbell, great head coach, way to be in shape. Proud of him. Whoever said that is absolutely, yeah, dude. James Houston's never ever. Well, he might get cut eventually, but James Houston is here to stay for a long, long time. They have Austin Bryant as a loss for the Lions this preseason. I was not fully aware that he was on the team last year. So, Adrian Martinez on first down, play action, pressure comes through the middle, rips it, and hit the wide receiver right in the hands. That's not on Adrian. That's a good throw by Adrian Martinez. And I don't know what the stats look like for Adrian. I can tell you his completion percentage is low, but it shouldn't be. Adrian Martinez is having a game. Having himself a game. What does the box score look like? Adrian Martinez, 5 of 11 for 30. He should be like 7, 8 of 11. He's had a couple drops from his receivers. He's playing solid though. Good handoff. Benny Snell, great way to hit the pocket. Good work. If that happens, I guarantee the whole fan base brings pitchforks. Dude, if James Houston gets cut, I will personally walk over to Allen Park from Adrian. It's like a 2-hour drive. I would walk up to the front door with a pitchfork, and I would demand James Houston get back. James Houston, I think he'll be a rotational guy. He might start a couple games, like on the stat sheet technically. I don't know. I think it's going to depend down distance situation. He'll probably start a couple of games because pass rush like early, but it's hard to say. Get it, Adrian. Break the tackle. Dang it. Frick. Heck. That's what I meant. Heck. I hate that. But, yeah, I think James Houston's not getting cut. Whoever said James Houston was getting cut, James Houston is not getting cut. Again, Jahmyr Gibbs, they keep going over to him and Pats. He's all geared up. He's ready to go, but obviously he's not playing tonight. Let's see. Adrian Martinez, has not played as well as I thought he was going to play tonight. I will be totally honest. I thought he'd play a little better. As much as we like Houston, he will never be on the level of Hutch. James Houston can be a better pass rusher than Aiden Hutchinson, and I fully believe that. But if we're talking like an all-around player, great tackle in the open space by Brady Breeze. If we're talking about just pass rushing, like getting to the quarterback, if you told me 1 year in their career that James Houston has more sacks than Aiden Hutchinson and they played the same amount of games, I would believe you. If you was a year where you told me Aiden Hutchinson played less snaps than James Houston when they were both fully healthy, that I would not believe. I think James Houston That's it. I'm starting to go fun. Brand new microphone because I need one. Did Christian Covington and Corey Durden again got on that sack. So did Smith. Chris Smith got in there too. Loss of 11. Good pass rush. Is that like the fourth, fifth sack tonight? I can't remember. Let's check it out. Let's see what we got. I know, man. It keeps going out. I hate it. I don't know why. I haven't touched the microphone. I don't do anything with the microphone. My hands are all the way up here and it just stops working sometimes and it's so frustrating. And I don't know how to fix it. I does that for videos too, and I have to fully re-record videos sometimes. So I do apologize for the microphone issues. Probably a bad cord, but I don't have a better one right now, so we're gonna see. Hutch has way more in his arsenal. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Aiden Hutchinson is a better player. Stephen Gilmore picked it off. Stephen Gilmore, pick six. He's making the roster. It's over. This man is incredible. What a steal. Actually, what a steal. So, wow. This microphone is driving me insane. I'm going to look for a new cord literally as soon as the stream ends, but please bear with me till the end of the stream and I will find a new cord. I promise. I think that Stephen Gilmore is like 4 pass defended tonight and a pick 6. He's so good. Like, he's the best undrafted rookie DB, and that says a lot because Starling Thomas is incredible. I think Aiden Hutchinson does have a higher ceiling. I agree. That's probably why he was the second overall pick. But I think if we're talking like as a pass rusher, I really do think that James Houston can be a top tier pass rusher in the NFL. Maybe not a top tier player as far as like an all around run defender, elite linebacker. Like, he's not Micah Parsons, but he can be like I'm trying to think of somebody who's like a pass rush specialist. He can be really good, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. He can be really, really good. Juno Quar is one notable name that's still on the field. Yeah, Yeah. He is a stud, dude. He's so good at football, I swear. She's worth 3 hours and 20 minutes into the stream, and we still got 3 minutes left. This is a long, long football game, and not a great football game. Well, it's a great football game. Not good to have a long football game when your microphone continuously turns off and does not work. Like, man, I'm gonna go buy a new cord. I might even just look it up like actually right after the stream. But we're gonna try to get through it. We're gonna try to, have a great time with it. Figure it out. Where did 3rd and 21 come from? What do you mean? 3rd and 21? What are we talking about? Did 3rd and 21 just happen? Ooh, that is a nice hit. Chase Lucas is having himself a night. Chase Lucas has a pick. Chase Lucas had, right there, a nice hit and a pass defended. He's having himself a good day for sure. Lions are up by 9, so they're by 2 scores at this point. Get him again. Good pass breakup. Is that 48? It's 48. Why don't I know who 48 is? That's weird. I usually know everybody on the team. I need a last name before I say anything. Sounds good now that cord is rattling before you went radio silent. Yeah, I'm going to go find a new cord. I promise. I just, I really haven't. Maybe it was 59. I don't think so. Yeah, I'm going to look for a new cord. I promise. Unfortunately, tonight, you might just have to bear with me. James Houston almost got there again. 48 did make a hit, but wasn't able to bring him down. Again, I apologize for the audio inconsistencies. Obviously not ideal, but as a broke college student, I can only do what I can do. But I agree. It's driving me crazy, and I've had it on my to-do list to find a new cord. I might even go into class on Monday and see if they have any of these left over. That's a good idea, actually. I just came up with that right now and said it out loud. All right, let's see. 1st and 10 for the Detroit Lions defense. Corey Durden looks gassed. He had no get off. I attend Adrian College. I am currently a junior, studying broadcasting and communications with my favorite professors and Michael Neal, and that guy is amazing. But I currently go to Adrian College as a junior studying broadcasting. Like I said, Corey Durden looked poor. Broderick Martin was just triple teamed. I don't know if anybody else saw that, but they just had 2 offensive linemen and a running back blocking Broderick Martin. That's pretty good. I appreciate that, man. I'm trying my best. Top 15 defense with a top 5 offense. That sounds like a division winner right there to me. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, I think the defense can be top 15, though. They don't, like I said, they don't really have like a huge weakness. I would say maybe run stopping still, but we haven't really seen the full defense work together yet as far as stopping the run. So we'll see. I think top 15 should be the goal, if not even top 10. So we'll see. James Houston out there looking like Harold Landry. James Houston looks great, guys. James Houston might be not my favorite player, because I have a lot of favorite players on the Lions, and my favorite one is the obvious one. But James Houston's up there, guys. I like me some James Houston. Any player that I could call beforehand, any player that I got right in the pre-draft process automatically becomes one of my favorite. And James Houston was one of those guys. I didn't know a whole lot about him because I obviously don't necessarily have the most wide access to HBCU, college tape, right? I don't really have the whole Jackson State. Was that where he went? Jackson State? Yeah, with Deion Sanders. And, I don't really have all that. But, once the Lions drafted him and I was able to kind of get a good deep dive on him, you could tell that this guy was going to be pretty good. I mean, what did he have, like 17 and a half sacks or something, and like 25 tackles for losses last year at Jackson State? It was incredible. I from Houston and used to local AM radio talk down here, and I'm retired professional drag race announcer. Breakdowns and great, heard a lot of Detroit Lions. I appreciate that, man. I'm really I'm just trying to get better. I'm trying to, do what I enjoy for a living, and what I enjoy is talking about football. So I'm trying to get better every day, trying to keep, improving my craft, and I think I've gotten pretty good at it, but I think I still got a little bit of ways to go. So I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it a bunch. So the Lions, I forget that we play the Panthers in week 5. But they come to Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. The Panthers have a rough start. They play the Falcons, who are sneaky good, then the Saints, who are sneaky good, and then they play the Seattle, Minnesota, Detroit, and Miami, who are all just flat-out playoff contenders. Carolina might start off 0-6. That's not good for them. Excuse me. Appreciate the comments, guys. Yeah, Carolina's got a rough start to the season for sure. James Houston's still out there. It looks like our defensive line might be starting to get a little bit tired. Their get off is a little bit slower than it usually is. Corey Durden is not quite getting off the ball like he was a couple drives ago. It's okay. The Lions have a rough start too. They go to Kansas City, which sucks. Then they play Seattle. Then they play Atlanta, who I said is very kind of sneaky good. Green Bay is never easy. I think the first easy, quote unquote, easy game is Carolina, Tampa Bay. But even then, you're going to Tampa in the hot humidity. And Baltimore, obviously, you're at Baltimore, which is outside, but Baltimore is just a good football team. So we'll see. I really do think the Lions can win 11 games, but with the tough schedule, the Lions, I minimally should win 8, but they could be, on the lower end of their floor this year because they have a tough schedule. They have a tough schedule. They got to learn how to win because they're still very young. So we'll see. We'll definitely see. All right. Down to the 1. It's not great. Trevor Nowaski got him at the 1-yard line. I like Trevor. Trevor's a good football player. I don't think he'll make the roster. If he does, he'll make the practice squad as a special teamer, but he's not bad. That's not bad coverage. That's just a great throw by Jake Luton. It's just a good throw. Did the ref mark it out? Or did the ref mark it in? Good call by the ref. I didn't see. I assume he marked it in. Down at the 1. Let's see. This is a better angle. What a beautiful throw. 2-3. Oh, yeah. No. Great call by the ref. He might have even got in, actually. I think that's a great call. I think that's the right call by the referee. 1, 2. We'll see. They might review that. I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah, they are reviewing it. We're taking a look. He might have reached that across, which would be very impressive. Again, not bad coverage at all. The guy was in the right position to make a play. Trevor Nowaski, with inches. You can literally see the shadow go over his hand from the football. I don't know. It's going to be hard to say. Trevor getting cut. I believe Trevor Nowaski will get cut, but he might come back as a practice squad player. That wouldn't surprise me. They obviously like him. I think he got it. I really do. I think Cameron Peoples got it, but I don't know if there's going to be enough clear evidence to overturn it is the problem. He thinks it's a touchdown, obviously. Houston did get better in the rush. He did, but he's also playing against backups. So we'll see how he plays against, starting caliber tackles as far as sealing off the runs and stuff. Again, I think he's gotten better as a player, but he's obviously not the best player yet. He'll probably never be the best player, but he should be a good football player for a long time. Let's see what I got. I got the villain hoodie from Brad Holmes. I got that for my birthday. It's so sick. It's so comfortable. I've worn it so many times, even though it's 90 degrees here every day. I wear it to practice in the morning when it's raining because it's cold and the rain sucks and I just need a hoodie. It's 6 a.m. to go to practice because that's so much fun. And I've been wearing that hoodie because that hoodie is sick. I love that hoodie. All right, let's see. They have been watching this one for a minute, and they're still watching it. Call on the field is short. It looks to me like he got it, but is there enough evidence to overturn? Like, there's not like a top-down angle to see, where the football is necessarily. It's going to be really hard to see. Remember those days when we thought Jared Davis was the next Ray Lewis? I liked Jared Davis. I still, to this day, will argue that Jared Davis was not a bad draft pick, that Jared Davis got super unlucky with the concussion in week 2 against the Giants because Odell Beckham made a poor decision and was just poorly coached. Like, Jared Davis's rookie year was a good linebacker, like actually a good linebacker. And, then Matt Patricia came in and goofed everything up, which sucks. But I refuse to believe that Jared Davis was a bad pick. I think it was poor coaching. I know I'm biased, but I think my nephew pass blocked better than Nelson tonight. If he gets cut, someone should scoop him up after tonight's game. I continue to think that Connor Galvin will beat out Nelson. Nelson had one really good block I saw, but wow, they called it short. Pass was reversed, short. No way. Wait, what? Shotgun Lutton. The replay official reviewed the pass completion ruling. Play was reversed. Lutton passed short right. Detroit fumbles ball out of bounds in the end zone. It's a touchback. No way. I mean, yeah, he did. No way. That's incredible. He did. He did let go of the ball. Wow. That's so funny. I feel so bad for that running back, but that's wild. Dog. Divine Azigbo, dog. No, I think Connor Galvin should make the roster. He's either going to make the practice squad and replace Abini Azee, or he's going to be on the active roster and replace Matt Nelson. It's one of the two, he could get obviously waived and he could get. Oh, never mind. It wasn't a massive run. I thought it was. That would have been sick. They might try to stash him on the practice squad and he gets picked up. But I would almost guarantee that Connor Galvin gets on a roster before the beginning of the season. For sure, man. Like I said, if a player plays well, I want to bring attention to it. Like, I don't want to just talk. Obviously, I love talking about the starters, but like, especially in the preseason, if there's a guy playing well, I want to talk about that guy. I want to watch the Lions play good football. The Lions are just going to kneel it out from there. That's a game, baby. But yeah, like if you play well, if the Lions are playing well, if there's a player on the Lions that plays well, I want to watch that player. I root for every single Lion player on the team. It doesn't matter if it's Jared Goff, if it's Connor Galvin, if it's freaking Daniel Helm, who hasn't caught a ball in 3 football games, or like Trinity Benson. Like, I will root for every single Detroit Lions who ever put on a uniform, and because those are my boys. Like, those are the guys that I will root for. Those are the guys that I will watch on TV. And if they're playing well, I want them to play well. And if they're playing well, I'm going to bring attention to the fact that they're playing well. Connor Galvin played a great game. He didn't have as good of a game in week 2 versus the Jaguars, but tonight especially, and very well as well against the Giants, he played really well. And he outplayed Matt Nelson. And I think he even outplayed Jermaine Ifedi at times. So if the Lions cut him, I think it's a poor decision by the Lions. Connor Galvin, great player. Like I said, if he ever wants to if he ever wants to come on and talk Lions football, I would love the opportunity to talk to any Lions player, including Connor Galvin, because I think that would be so cool. And talk about his experiences in preseason, talk about the team in general. I think that'd be sick. So if he wants to do that, let him know. He's always welcome on the channel. All he's got to do is hit me up on, Instagram, Twitter, whatever he's got to do, and we'll get him on the channel any day he wants. But with that being said, the Detroit Lions win this game 26-17. We'll go over the stats really, really quickly, and then we'll get out of here because we're 3.5 hours in, and I can already feel myself losing a voice. He's single, doesn't drink, has been business since he was 10. That's a good man. That's a good man. I mean, obviously, hopefully he finds a girl or something. Hopefully he finds a significant other. But, doesn't drink, doesn't party, seems like straight and narrow guy. Seems like a really cool dude. obviously it's working out for him so far. Let's see. The Detroit Lions, Teddy Bridgewater, 13 of 22, 178 for 1 touchdown, 0 sacks, 100.2 quarterback rating. Amazing day. Adrian Martinez, 5 for 11, 39 yards. Not great. Was sacked twice under pressure quite a bit. Was able to escape the pressure, kept his eyes down the field. And, not as good as week 1, but not bad. Knight fell 2 of 5, made some good decisions while he was out there, had a drop or two. Not great by his receivers, kind of let him down, made Sudfeld himself. Was good. Hopefully he is healthy. Again, I haven't seen any updates yet, but I will continue to look and see. Craig Reynolds, 11 for 41. Really good day on the ground for him. Benny Snell had 5 for 26. Not a bad day for him. Martinez, 5 for 10 as a quarterback scrambling. That's not awful. Teddy, 1 for 3. Zigbo, obviously, 4 for 3, which is not ideal. If he makes the team, I'll have my kid. Hey, even if he doesn't make the team, I'd still love to have him on. Like, once you're a Lion, once you put on that Lions uniform, to me, you're always a Lion, right? Even the guys that aren't here anymore, I still root for them. I still love Quandre Diggs, still love Darius Slay. Even, like, the preseason guys, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, Tom Kennedy, even if he goes somewhere else, I love Tom Kennedy. Hey, once you're a Lion, man, you're always a Lion in my eyes. So even if he doesn't make the team, if he still wants to come on and talk football, he's still welcome there. Antoine Green, great night. 3 for 97, 1 touchdown, had the big 70-yard touchdown. Dylan Drummond had 5 for 46. Not a bad day for him either. 6 targets, 5 receptions. Chase Cota had a smaller night. 8 targets, 3 catches, 42 yards. Still really, really good. Trinity Benson had 3 for 16. James Mitchell, 1 for 7. Jason Moore had 1 for 6. Craig Reynolds had 1 for 5. Cabinda, 1 for 4. Everybody else did have a target or two, but didn't quite have the reception. Adrian Martinez did fumble once, but Brady Breeze recovered the fumble forced by by Khalil Dorsey. Trevor Nowaski led the team in tackles with Brady Breeze. Corey Durden did get a sack, as did James Houston. Christian Covington got half a sack, along with Romeo Okwara. 3 sacks on the night and 1 interception. 2 interceptions. 1 from Chase Cota, 1 from Chase Lucas, 1 from Stephen Gilmore, taken back to the house. Overall, really good day for the Detroit Lions. Really good day for the defense. Solid day, productive day. Offense looked better. Feel better with Teddy Bridgewater as the backup. But with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you all so much for joining the stream. Thank you so very much for watching with me for 3.5 hours. Of course, until next time, and as always, go Lions.